Let us pray. Almighty God, we beseech you to behold with your abundant favor and blessings as your servants whom you have been pleased to call to leadership positions in this republic. We seek guidance to treat and consider all matters that shall come under our deliberations in so just and faithful a manner as to advance the peace, prosperity, and welfare of our country and of those whose interests you have committed to our church. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I apologize for the delay. I wish to give notice of motion on the report of the Parliament of Kenya delegation to the 49th Commonwealth Parliamentary Association CPA Africa Region Conference. That this House notes the report of the Parliament...
Order, member, hold on a bit. Senator Petronilla, approach the chair. Okay, order, members. I have a communication. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon of visiting clerk from the County Assembly of West Pokot. I request Mr. David Karungutiang, clerk of West Pokot County Assembly, to stand so that he may be acknowledged in the Senate tradition. In our ancient tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to him, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish him a fruitful visit. I thank you. Next order. Oh, Senator Bogisho.
Speaker, thank you. Just to add to the invitation, welcome that we have extended to the clerk of West Pokot County Assembly. Speaker, I'd like to ask the Speaker of West Pokot County that this is a place that he can learn a lot. This is a place where he can take back and work the place in West Pokot to bring West Pokot to a level where the County Assembly there will understand their roles. And so we ask that also that the leadership of the County Assembly work on the peace between us and our neighbors, and let them deal with the leaders, as Speaker, that bring the change that we desire, which is a peaceful region. And so with the proper understanding of the laws and lawmaking process, I wish him well, that he might then be able to guide the House in making those laws, and especially in a situation like now where we need peace and stability. Thank you very much, and welcome.
Okay, other members have another communication. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon of visiting students and teachers from Diamond Academy School at River, Machakos County. In our usual tradition of receiving and welcoming visitors to Parliament, I extend a warm welcome to them, and on behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, wish them a fruitful visit. I thank you. Senator Dulo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I wish to take this opportunity to welcome the visiting students, but I wasn't actually standing because of that. Mr. Speaker, last week you ruled that Isiolo petition should be tabled today, so I wanted to know what is the position from the Health Committee. I thank you.
Okay, I'll give a communication on that. Senator Zani Agnes.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I also stand to welcome the girls who are in the gallery this afternoon and to wish them well and to say that this is the Senate of Kenya. We look at counties and take care of the matters in counties and the interests in counties. And even as you watch the proceedings, we hope that you will be able to take up leadership in your rightful place as young girls, as young women, because Kenya needs you to do exactly that. So as you watch us debate this afternoon, Mr. Speaker, I wish to inform these girls that really their ambitions should be building up, their thirst to grow and to lead should be building up, and that all will be well with them. They just have to work hard and all will be well. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. I think to respond to Senator Dulo's inquiry, I have received a letter from the chair of the Health Committee seeking for an extension of time to next week on Wednesday. The matter was also discussed in the House Business Committee. We did agree that we give them 1 week to be able to finalize on a few areas that they were tying up. Senator Dulo.
Mr. Speaker, this information was canvassed at the House Business Committee, but I hope come next Wednesday, they are not going to ask for an extension. I thank you.
Senator James Orengo.
Mr. Speaker, this petition was requesting for a special intervention. And this report has been awaited for a long time. The committee has been indulged on several occasions. Now, the patient was breathing when this matter went to the committee. Now the patient is dead. Yes. We are planning for the funeral. And then they are going to come with the recommendations that should be applied to a living patient when we are already burying the patient. Mr. Speaker, I hope that the indulgence that was going to be given to that committee will be accompanied by an apology. Because many places have gone to the governors, keep on asking about this petition in relation to their own situations. So I hope, since this is a committee of health, anything relating to health must be handled expeditiously. But I agree with you that they should be given time so that we look at that report. And I hope that report is going to be able to revive the patient, because the patient is already dead.
Mutula Kilonzo Jr.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, although you have agreed on the extension, my problem with your extension, Mr. Speaker, is that the Committee of Finance is now considering the budget policy statement. Which budget policy statement, Mr. Speaker, has got the figure that is going to be allocated to the issues that Senator Dulo has raised? And I hope this is the one on medical leasing. Mr. Speaker, the extra 7 days you have given this committee, Mr. Speaker, will do two things. One, it will not inform our report on the budget policy statement. Alternatively, the committee is going to postpone the inevitable so that we are unable to make a decision. But, Mr. Speaker, Senator Orengo says this matter is dead, and this Senate cannot be an undertaker for purposes of medical leasing. On this one, Mr. Speaker, I believe that the committee, Mr. Speaker, you should have castigated them, because this matter has become very notorious. And, Mr. Speaker, chances are, Mr. Speaker, that we will rally the senators of this country to reject the medical leasing conditional grant this financial year. Thank you.
Senator Olekina Ledama.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I'm concerned about the period of time that it takes for a petition to be determined in this House. And I want to speak to my brother, the chair of the Committee on Health. We have serious issues. And currently, the issue is not only limited to Isiolo. So with all the amount of work, if it's a challenge, I think we can be able to have a further discussion on how we're going to deal with this issue of health. Because I remember last time, this entire House was sort of like converted itself into a committee on health to look at the medical leasing equipment. I think it is now time that, Mr. Speaker, sir, from where you sit, you become very strict on timelines. Last session, I was very disappointed, Mr. Speaker, sir, because I brought in a request that was dealing with the issue of farmers in Narok, of the barley farmers, and until today, I've never received any response to that matter. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, it would help this country if you take your position there and we stick to the standing orders. The time given for for a report to be given in this House should really be adhered. Mr. Speaker, sir, you know your colleague in the other House threw out other petitions when the time lapsed. So this issue of wasting so much time is not going to be useful. So, and if maybe the chair is getting challenged by people not attending, by our colleagues not attending to the meeting, then I think also the standing orders are very clear, that our committees are not just set out there so that you can become a committee member. It's for you to be able to do the work. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I think in future, you should not allow that 7 days. I'm completely against that, because we need to be able. This time of extending time over time is going to make people there suffer. Right now, this country, look at what is happening with the nurses' strike. You know, we have issues of universal health care. How is it going to help us, Mr. Speaker, sir? So, Mr. Speaker, sir, I hope that the Health Committee will actually use those 7 days and make sure that they give us a report which can be able to deliver justice for the people of Isiolo.
Senator Ephraim Maina.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. We all respect your decision, Mr. Speaker, but I wish to state that this matter, Mr. Speaker, you remember when it came, I asked that it be expedited. We know the health sector in this country, how it is, and what Senator Duro has been raising. And Mr. Speaker, I want to ask you that you know her position. You have listened to her. She is really feeling down for this matter. And it's not just her alone. In this country, in fact, it is becoming a big question whether devolving health has meant anything. Whether devolving health has not meant just the money that should be really be serving those small dispensaries, ending up in the long places. And Mr. Speaker, I would urge you that you have given the decision, but I would ask you to invoke your powers and follow up this matter and see that this country is given the justice it needs. Mr. Speaker, we have the nurses on the strike. The health sector in this country right now is in a fragile state. That is the real truth, Mr. Speaker. We are reading about various hospitals the way they are, even in the media, and I think what Senator Duro was raising is not just about Isiolo. And this matter of Isiolo should be gone deeper and quickly. It is no use this house taking so long that by the time the matter comes, is reported, it's already stale. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, I think I would urge you that use your powers properly and see what you can do.
Are you suggesting I'm not using my powers properly?
Not really, Mr. Speaker. I just do believe that you have a certain wisdom that you can apply.
Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to begin by joining you to welcome the visiting students from Machakos and urge them to use their time in this chamber to learn a few things about legislation and be inspired in their endeavors to join leadership at some point in their lives. Mr. Speaker, having said that, I want to join my colleagues, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and I want to begin by saying, Mr. Speaker, the ruling of the Speaker on any matter must really be taken very, very seriously by everyone, including chairs of both standing and sessional committees. The Speaker, it's getting a bit worrying when you rule from your chair, you give a date on when action should be taken on certain matters, and on that date, nothing happens. Then we get extensions after extensions. Mr. Speaker, last week, you directed that the response to Senator Dulo's issue be brought today. Now, we are extending it with another 7 days. The import of that, Mr. Speaker, is that the matter that was raised by Senator Dulo is not exclusive to Isiolo County. That matter affects all the counties in this country. We represent those counties. And the response to that matter, Mr. Speaker, would be useful in dealing with similar issues in all the 47 counties in this country. It has been said, Mr. Speaker, that the health status in this country is in the ICU. And that's the truth of the matter. So serious is the matter that even His Excellency the President has tried to intervene on this industrial action that has been taken by the nurses. But even as he intervenes, more counties are joining the strike. Mr. Speaker, I would want to urge you, and I will not take the route taken by the Senator for Nyeri, that implication that you're not using your powers properly. I know you are. Mr. Speaker, I would just want to urge that, one, you reconsider that extension, and secondly, Mr. Speaker, you demand of chairmen of committees that once you make a ruling from the chair, that ruling must be followed and there should be no excuses. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Cherargei Samson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and I want to agree that the matters of health are very crucial and important, and this issue is not exclusive to Isiolo County, but I want to agree, since it is not, in your wisdom in ruling, since it is not only Isiolo County, we need a very elaborate, conclusive conclusion to this matter at the end of the day. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, we agree that there are many issues, and in fact, if we don't, health is one of the key devolved functions that needs all of us to pay attention to, because if we do not take care, the conversation of bringing back health as a national government function will continue to grow more louder and more popular, because we need to act as fast as possible. So in as much as the Committee of Health is working on this matter, I want to agree sometimes as a committee, we don't intend to take time because we intend to. It is sometimes because we need to present a more concise, a more elaborate, a more conclusive report to the House, so that when the Senate takes a position, Mr. Speaker, sir, they take it in a position that will help Kenyans and facilitate. But I agree the health issue we should continue to address with the seriousness it deserves, so that Kenyans can continue to receive the attention it deserves. So I thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir.
Leader of Majority, Murkomen.
Mr. Speaker, I had the privilege and honor of chairing this committee briefly, a joint committee of the House, to deliberate on the same issues. And you can remember very well, Mr. Speaker, if it was reported to you that the issues are very weighty. Right from just basic legal issues, Mr. Speaker, Senator Mutola and Senator Orengo will tell you that most of the reports we were given here, some of which we have the copies, do not pass the test of a legal intern, Mr. Speaker, because of even the signatures alone, even the witnessing of those documents. So, Mr. Speaker, this thing is serious. Elgeyo Marakwet County, as we speak, one of the hospitals that is supposed to have received the equipment is Chebiemit District Hospital, which you are very much aware because you lived in Chebiemit, Mr. Speaker, in your earlier life. And the equipments have been there more than 6 months or so, but they are not in operation. They are not being used. Nobody is being, using those equipments. Those are the real, integral, serious issues that must be checked by this committee. And, Mr. Speaker, we will not accept. I just want to tell the committee that we will not accept on the floor of this House a report that is mutilated or a report that, Mr. Speaker, does not say the truth. The only thing that will set this House free and the only thing that will set the health sector free is to have a report that is the truth, the whole truth, but nothing but the truth, Mr. Speaker. It's only that way that this House, because the whole stakeholders, county governments, citizens, health workers, they are all waiting for that report because it says something about transparency, accountability, and, Mr. Speaker, proper use of public resources in this project called medical equipment. And particularly, I want to know why every year the money is escalating every year, Mr. Speaker, and the structure that was provided in place. Mr. Speaker, I beg to support you and ask Senator Deputy Leader to indulge the committee for the 1 week, but for the committee to know that what we expect out of them, and the chair is here, is something of the standards that the Senate require.
Okay, honorable senators, I really appreciate the weighty matters raised in that report. And we are expecting a comprehensive report. It's not my intention to keep extending time. But I gave the chair, the Committee on Health, 1 week to come up with a comprehensive report. And that is what this House is expecting. So on 26th, we are expecting that the chair will present a comprehensive report. And let me also ask the other chairman that please observe the timelines. You represent counties. The chair of health is from a county, and the county and Kenyans are watching how we are treating some of these reports that come to us, because apart from just being a chair, you also come from a county. Therefore, you must take your work very, very seriously. So on 26th, we are hoping that the report will be tabled here. So before we continue, I have a communication to make. Honorable senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the Speaker's Gallery this afternoon of a visiting delegation from the Parliament of the Republic of Serbia, led by Her Excellency Ms. Maja Gojkovic, Speaker of the National Assembly. Ms. Maja, who is my colleague, is a member of the Preparatory Committee of the 5th World Conference of Speakers of Parliaments of the Interparliamentary Union, IPU. It is important to note that she will also be the host of the 141st Assembly of IPU that will be held in Belgrade, Serbia, in October 2019. She is accompanied by the following delegation. I request each member of the delegation to stand when called out so that they may be acknowledged in the Senate tradition. They are Honorable Professor Dr. Zach Obradovic, President of the Foreign Policy Committee. Number 2 is Honorable Dragma Karik, President of the Parliamentary Friendship Group with Uganda. Number 3 is Excellency Dragan Subajek, Ambassador, the Embassy of Serbia. 4 is Mr. Milan Vardinovic, Deputy Head of Mission, Embassy of the Republic of Serbia. 5, Ms. Dragana Radojevic, Advisor in the Cabinet of the Speaker. 6 is Ms. Marjan Jeremic, Advisor for Media in the Cabinet of the Speaker. 7 is Dragna Bokraj, Translator. 8, Jasminka Ursevic, Senior Protocol Officer. 9, Mr. Dako Melanovic, Officer to the Speaker.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I support your statement.
Thank you, and just for the record, we were born the same year with the Madam Speaker. Next order. Senator Mtula Kilonzo Jr.
Thank you, Speaker. The rules are that you don't disclose the age of a lady. I join you in welcoming the group from Serbia. Mr. Speaker, you forgot one very important guest in the gallery who comes from my county, who is also in the Speaker's panel, Honorable Jessica Mbalu from Kibwezi East constituency. Mr. Speaker, to recognize and appreciate, when I served as a special rapporteur for the IPU Parliament on matters gender parity, that Kenya needs to learn a lesson by having a speaker who is a lady. By the time we start speaking about a third, most of the countries in the Nordic region are doing 50%. And I speak this with a lot of authority. So therefore, Mr. Speaker, I hope that when the bill on actualizing Article 81 to have 1/3 of either gender representing in the National Assembly, particularly, that will support in view of what is happening out there in the world. We have waited for too long, we are too far behind, and Serbia is leading the way. We welcome you to Kenya. It's a good job. Mr. Speaker, we hope that our delegation through Senator Kihika at IPU will continue propagating the views that have been done by one of our own. The Women Atlas produced by IPU recognizes Senator Beth Mugo, who sits here for the work she has done for the fight to have women of this world recognized as equal human beings to men. Thank you.
Thank you. Next order.
Order number 7, statements.
Senator Msuruveki.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for giving me this opportunity. I rise to seek a statement from the Committee of Education on the delay in disbursement of money for free primary and secondary education. Pursuant to Standing Order 48-1, I rise to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education on the delay by the Ministry of Education in disbursement of money to public schools. In the statement, the committee should explain the reasons for the inordinate delays by the Ministry of Education in the disbursement of funds for free primary and secondary education. 2, enumerate the number of public schools that have so far received the funds vis-a-vis the number of public schools in the country. 3, state when the funds will be released to the remaining schools. And 4, state the measures being undertaken by the national government to develop a sustainable framework
to address the issue of delay of the disbursement of funds to public schools. And Mr. Speaker, I want to say that I'm in the Committee of Education, yes, and I should be part of the senators who will be doing this investigation. But Mr. Speaker, I want to say that it is important for it to go to the Hansard and to be on record that there is that concern that there is need for money to be disbursed in schools at the right time, Mr. Speaker, for the sake of ensuring that head teachers, principals are able to manage their schools. There has been an outcry, Mr. Speaker, sir, that in some schools, heads are not even able to manage the day-to-day running of the school simply because the funds have not arrived in good time. And Mr. Speaker, a school as an institution has its own issues. You'll find that in a school they'll have very many payments to make, electricity to clear, water to clear, and apart from that, children are also in schools. And I want to say, Mr. Speaker, without money at the right time, it will be very difficult for heads, principals to run the schools on a one-to-one daily basis. Mr. Speaker,
can you order? You have already made your statement, so I don't know what you are explaining now. You are bordering on being out of order, so please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, for this, but I was just emphasizing that there's need for the Ministry of Education to actually disburse the money in good time, so there's need for investigation to be done so that something is done to bring to a stop this kind of delay. Thank you.
Next statement. Musuruve, Senator Musuruve, your next statement.
Mr. Speaker, sir, thank you very much for this other opportunity that you've given me to make a statement, an actual request for a statement on the rights of implementation of the sector policy for learners and trainees with disabilities that was launched in May 2018. Mr. Speaker, sir, pursuant to Standing Order 48.1, I rise to seek a statement from the Standing Committee on Education on the status of implementation of the sector policy for learners and trainees with disabilities that was launched in May 2018. In the statement, the committee should explain the status of implementation of the sector policy for learners and trainees with disabilities that was launched, indicating any challenges and successes encountered so far. Mr. Speaker, I also want to acknowledge the fact that I'm in the Committee of Education and I should be part of the team that is going to work on this. And I want to say, Mr. Speaker, that there's need actually for this committee to work with speed and see to it that learners with disabilities are included in everyday today activities of school and also society. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you. The next, yes, what's your point of order, Senator Wetangula?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, towards the end of the last term, I sought a statement in relation to the activities of Turkana Wind Power in Marsabit County and the loss or misapplication of resources between that company, the Minister of Energy, and Ketraco, a parastatal in the ministry. Mr. Speaker, you directed that the statement be made available as soon as it was practically possible, and then we went on recess. Now that we are back, Mr. Speaker, and we're in the second week, I would want to know from the chair of the committee if the statement is ready and when it can be presented to the House so that we can interrogate the content.
Chair of the committee. Energy, I thought I saw Maina. Now that he's not here, I'm sure he will get the vice chair. Any member with information from the Senator Olekina.
Mr. Speaker, sir, this is an issue that we've been dealing with in the committee, and I want to assure the distinguished senator from Bungoma that because of all those changes which were taking place, and because of the long recess that we went, there are certain information that we could not be able to get. But this Committee on Energy is sitting again next week on Tuesday, and I want to undertake that after next week on Tuesday, I would like to request that the senator give us a time so that we can be able to, file a response to his
What is your point of order, Senator Wambua?
Mr. Speaker, I'm raising on a point of order in relation to the purported response from the senator for Narok. Mr. Speaker, a few minutes ago, the senator for Narok was really furious about a petition that was supposed to be presented last week and was not presented. Now he's here defending his committee for committing the same offense and seeking more time to give a statement. The Speaker, is he in order?
What's your point of order, Senator Wetangula?
Mr. Speaker, if you listen to the distinguished senator for Narok, he was just engaged in unhelpful polemics. Mr. Speaker, he didn't say anything. All he said is that the matter is at their committee. They have been busy, too many issues. Mr. Speaker, you directed that this statement be made in 2 weeks. We've gone for 2 months. And since we resumed, we have had another 1 full week. This is 2 weeks, in fact. So, Mr. Speaker, the knife that was slicing the distinguished senator for Trans Nzoia should be the same knife that should slice the distinguished senator for Narok.
Mr. Speaker, sir, if you look at the order paper for today, before it was amended at the House Business, we have 2 very important legislation, one on energy and the other on petroleum. These are very important bills that we are dealing with. And I'm not saying that what the distinguished senator from Bungoma requested is not important, but I remember very well that during that time, when the distinguished senator from Bungoma requested that statement, I rose and I stated clearly that the issue we had on that transmission line, we were dealing with them. We had the Minister for Energy appear before our committee. We received information. And what I said, and I'd like to repeat again so that the distinguished senator can be able to understand. We are seized of the matter. We have received information. We do not want to bring half-baked information to this House. The distinguished senator represents the people of this country. He has to get full information. But if the distinguished senator wants half-baked information, Mr. Speaker, sir, I can commit to consult with my chair, and tomorrow we will present the supplement, the information we have.
What's your point of order, Leader of Majority?
Mr. Speaker, the line the Senator of Narok is taking, Mr. Speaker, is not only condescending, Mr. Speaker, but disrespectful to this House. Mr. Speaker, your orders, in fact, Mr. Speaker, it's not Senator Wetangula who is in trial, nor this House is on trial. Mr. Speaker, it is the authority of the Speaker which is on trial. And Mr. Speaker, when the Speaker orders 2 weeks, what does it mean to this House? Mr. Speaker, it means something. And therefore, if every committee is going to answer in the same manner, and very unremorseful, Mr. Speaker, very unrepentant about the 2 months delay, if every committee is going to answer the same way the Senator of Narok has done, Mr. Speaker, then we will not have a House that can keep time and be faithful, Mr. Speaker, to the people of this Republic and the senators. So, Mr. Speaker, I want you to rule the Senator of Narok completely out of order. And Mr. Speaker,
Order, members.
I am requesting the Speaker to rule the Senator of Narok completely out of order, Mr. Speaker, in my opinion. And Mr. Speaker, request from the chair that you give a final authoritative and Mr. Speaker, enforceable order that Mr. Speaker will apply to this committee.
Senator Junior.
There's a famous English saying, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. Senator Ledama cannot speak from both sides of the mouth or blow hot and cold. It's not allowed. But more importantly, Mr. Speaker, there is no rule under the standing orders of this parliament where after we go on recess, time stops running. And therefore, it means that even if the senators are working outside this chamber, we have all not gone on leave. And therefore, that is not an excuse. Similarly, Senator Wetangula, who has requested for the question, is owed a report, whether interim or otherwise. Progress report, Mr. Speaker, is not a contradiction. And therefore, I agree with Senator Majority Leader that the Senator Ledama cannot be heard to say he's going to bring us half-baked information. This is the Senate of the Republic of Kenya. We are not some outdoor place where you bring half-baked information. Thank you.
Senator Wetangula, what's your point of order?
Mr. Speaker, I join my distinguished colleague from Elgeyo Marakwet and urge the Speaker that, Mr. Speaker, it's not open to the chair of the committee or anybody representing him to tell this House, and in particular the chair, that when you demand observance of the orders of the chair, then he's entitled to bring half-baked information. Mr. Speaker, that doesn't work in this House or any House for that matter. When the chair says 2 weeks, it means 2 weeks. And at the end of the recess, Mr. Speaker, one would have expected the courtesy and decency of the committee to tell you either in person or on the floor of this House that we have not met our 2 weeks deadline, give us extra time. But to tell us that if you push us, we'll bring you half-baked information, Mr. Speaker, is taking this House a little too casual and too pedestrian.
Senator Wambua.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, you know, when the senator for Bungoma, Senator Moses Masika Wetangula, rose to ask a question, he was very specific, and I listened to him. He asked 2 questions, Mr. Speaker. Is the report ready? And when will that report be tabled in the House for adoption? When the senator from Narok rose, the Speaker, he said all manner of things but said nothing. The Speaker, what I'm trying to say is, can you direct the Speaker that if a member of a committee has no answer to a question relating to statements or petitions, they desist from attempting to respond to questions whose answers they don't have? Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator, you'll answer all of them together. Just hold on, you're not on the... Senator George Chilayako.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I have listened to the Senator of Narok, and in my view, Mr. Speaker, the Senator of Narok does not have authority to speak on behalf of the committee. Mr. Speaker, would I be in order to ask you to defer the matter to the chair and stop the Senator of Narok from consuming time that would otherwise be useful to other members?
Senator Haragura.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, if my memory serves me right, when Senator Wetangula asked for that statement, the Speaker was very clear, and he even gave, I think, if I'm not wrong, February 14th as the day on which the statement should be brought, the reply should be brought. So it was very specific. And even Senator Oledama saying that they are working on that statement, I thought before they could bring a report, they would have even invited Senator Wetangula when they have invited the CS Energy so that he can clear issues there so that we don't waste a lot of time again interrogating things on the floor of the House. So I think they should be serious and we should get the report, and they should also invite the CS with the interested senators so that we can clear these issues in that committee meeting so that we save the time of the plenary.
Senator Olekina, you want to make things worse, or you?
First of all, correct my dear brother, the distinguished senator from Migori. I do have authority because the speaker said here, the chair is not there. The vice chair is not there. And then the speaker said, any member? And of course I said yes. And I stood up and I responded clearly. And I will not take back my words, Mr. Speaker, sir. What I said, for me to make it very clear, for the distinguished senator from Kitui to get it. It is not that I stood here and just emitted gas. I stood here and I gave facts. I clearly stated that, and I'm glad that we are finally bringing this house to a house of debate. And I'm willing to take on, because when you have facts, facts are very stubborn, Mr. Speaker, sir. I indicated clearly, Mr. Speaker, sir, protect me from the majority leader. You need to speak through the speaker. You cannot just say, this man is wasting time. I stood here, Mr. Speaker, sir, and I'm going to stand here again and say, and let me break it down for my dear brother here to understand, and for the whole House to understand.
Order.
Mr. Speaker, sir, we worked on the report.
Order.
We met.
Order. Senator Olekina and your committee, I'm directing that you provide a response next week on Thursday. And I also want to tell the other chairmen who are here, don't make the speaker's work difficult. Make the speaker's work easy, and if you are going to continue in the manner you are doing, it's not going to be business as usual. And I want to ask, and I also want to ask the leader of majority who hosts most of the chairmen to talk to all your chair to up their game. Otherwise, it's not going to be business as usual. Next order.
Order number 8, Committee of the Whole. Committee, rise up for the committee. 8.
Order, honorable senators. Now, we are now in the Committee of the Whole and considering the Irrigation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 46 of 2017.
Clause 3.
I propose the question that Clause 3 be part of the bill. The chairperson of the Senate Standing Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries to move amendment.
Mr. Chairman, I propose that Clause 3 be amended as indicated on the order paper.
I propose the question that Clause 3 be amended as proposed. I put the question that Clause 3 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clauses 4 and 5.
I propose the question that clauses 4 and 5 be part of the bill. I put the question that clauses 4 and 5 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Clause 6.
I propose the question that Clause 6 be part of the bill. Chairperson of the Standing Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries to move amendments.
Mr. Chair, I propose that clause 6 be amended as indicated on the order paper.
I propose the question that clause 6 be amended as proposed. I put the question that clause 6 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clause 7.
I propose the question that clause 7 be part of the bill. I put the question that clause 7 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Clause 8.
I propose the question that clause 8 be part of the bill. Chairperson of the Senate Committee on Agriculture, Livestock and Fisheries to move amendments.
Mr. Chairman, I propose that clause 8 be amended as is on the order paper.
I propose the question that clause 8 be amended as proposed. I put the question that clause 8 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clause 9.
I propose the question that clause 9 be part of the bill. Chairperson?
Mr. Chairman, I move that clause 9 be amended as per the order paper.
I propose the question that clause 9 be amended as proposed. I put the question that clause 9 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clauses 10 to 13.
I propose the question that clause 10 to 13 be part of the bill. I put the question that clauses 10 to 13 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Clause 14.
I propose the question that clause 14 be part of the bill. Chairperson?
Mr. Chairman, I move that clause 14 be amended as indicated on the order paper.
I propose the question that clause 14 be amended as proposed. I put the question that clause 14 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clause 15.
I propose the question that clause 15 be part of the bill. I put the question that clause 15 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Clause 16.
I propose the question that clause 16 be part of the bill. Chairperson?
Mr. Chairman, I move that clause 16 be amended as per the order paper.
I propose the question that clause 16 be amended as proposed. I put the question that clause 16 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clause 17.
I propose the question that clause 17 be part of the bill. Chairperson?
I move that clause 17 be amended as per the order paper.
I propose the question that clause 17 be amended as proposed. I put the question that clause 17 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clauses 18 and 19.
I propose the question that clauses 18 and 19 be part of the bill. I put the question that clauses 18 and 19 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Clause 20.
I propose the question that clause 20 be part of the bill. Chairperson?
Mr. Chairman, I move that clause 20 be amended as per the order paper.
I propose the question that clause 20 be amended as proposed. I put the question that clause 20 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clauses 21 to 24.
I propose the question that clauses 21 to 24 be part of the bill. I put the question that clauses 21 to 24 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Clause 25.
I propose the question that clause 25 be part of the bill. Chairperson?
Mr. Chairman, I move that clause 25 be amended as per the order paper.
I propose the question that clause 25 be amended as proposed. I put the question that clause 25 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clauses 26 to 33.
I propose the question that clauses 26 to 33 be part of the bill. I put the question that clauses 26 to 33 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Clause 34.
I propose the question that clause 34 be part of the bill. Chairperson?
Mr. Chairman, I move that clause 34 be amended as per the order paper.
I propose the question that clause 34 be amended as proposed. I put the question that clause 34 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clause 35.
I propose the question that clause 35 be part of the bill. I put the question that clause 35 be part of the bill. Division at the end.
Schedule.
I propose the question that the schedule be part of the bill. Chairperson. Schedule.
Schedule.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the schedule be amended as per the order paper.
I propose the question that the schedule be amended as proposed. I put the question that the schedule be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
Clause 2.
I propose the question that clause 2 be part of the bill. Chairperson.
Mr. Chairman, I move that clause 2 be amended as per the order paper.
I propose the question that clause 2 be amended as proposed. I put the question that clause 2 be amended as proposed. Division at the end.
The title and clause 1.
I propose the question that the title and clause 1 be part of the bill. Order, honorable members. What's your point of order, Senator Wetangula?
As a matter of procedure, I noticed, give me the mic. 1 second. Switch this off. I noticed, Mr. Chairman, that the distinguished chairman, the senator for Embu, after moving a clause, he's just standing at the dispatch box. That is not the procedure. So that when you are proposing the question and putting the question, he's just transfixed at the dispatch box. And that is not right, Mr. Speaker. That is not part of the procedure of this House. Every time he finishes with one clause, he has to take his seat and wait for the chair to dispose of the question. Then he comes.
Are we moving now? Which is that the committee do report progress on its consideration of the Irrigation Bill, National Assembly Bill number 46 of 2017, and seeks leave to sit again tomorrow. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Madam Speaker.
Chairperson.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to report progress that the Committee of the Whole considered the Irrigation Bill, National Assembly Bills number 46 of 2017, and seeks leave to sit again tomorrow.
Mover.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the House do agree with the committee in the said report and ask Senator Ndwiga to second.
Madam Speaker, I second.
I will propose the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. I will put the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. As many as of that opinion say aye. As many as of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 9, Committee of the Whole, the Urban Areas and Cities Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 4 of 2017.
Order, honorable senators. Now we are in the Committee of the Whole, considering the Urban Areas and Cities Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 4 of 2017.
Clause 19.
I propose the question that the National Assembly amendment to Clause 19 of the bill be approved. I put the question that the National Assembly amendment to Clause 19 of the bill be approved. Division. So I think division later. Order, honorable senators, because we don't have numbers, we will do division tomorrow. Honorable senators, we are now reporting progress on the Committee of the Whole in consideration of the National Assembly amendments to the Urban Areas and Cities Amendment Bill, Senate Bills number 4 of 2017. Mover.
Mr. Speaker, having agreed with the amendment as proposed by National Assembly, Mr. Chair, having agreed with the amendment as proposed by National Assembly, and pursuant to Standing Order number 148, I beg to move that the committee do report progress on its consideration of the National Assembly amendment to the Urban Areas and City Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 4 of 2017, and seek leave to sit again tomorrow.
Honorable senators, I will put the question, which is that the committee do report progress on its consideration of the National Assembly amendment to the Urban Areas and Cities Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 4 of 2017, and seek leave to sit again tomorrow. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it.
Chairperson.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to report progress that the Committee of the Whole has considered the National Assembly amendment to the Urban Areas and Cities Amendment Bill, Senate Bill number 4 of 2017, and seeks leave to sit again tomorrow.
Mover.
Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the House do agree with the committee on the said report and ask Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. to second.
I second.
I will propose the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. I will put the question, which is that the House do agree with the committee in the said report. As many as of that opinion say aye. Aye. As many as of the contrary opinion say nay. The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 10, motion. The report of the ad hoc committee on the maize crisis in Kenya.
Chairperson ad hoc committee on maize.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order number 57, I beg to move the following motion in an amended form. That this House adopts the report of the ad hoc committee on the maize crisis in Kenya, laid on the table of the House on Tuesday, 27th November 2018, subject to the following amendments. A, by deleting the words Cabinet Secretary, the National Treasury and Planning, and the Cabinet Secretary, Minister of Agriculture and Livestock, appearing in paragraph 3 on page 11 of the report, and substituting thereof the words Interministerial Committee on Food Security. Page 11. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, B, by deleting the words CS National Treasury and CS Ministry of Agriculture appearing in column 1 of recommendation 7 on page 111 of the report, and substituting therefore the words the Interministerial Committee on Food Security. C, Madam Speaker, by deleting the words CS National Treasury, CS Agriculture appearing in column 3 of recommendation 7 on page 111 of the report, and substituting therefore the words the Interministerial Committee on Food Security. Madam Speaker, the reason I'm bringing that amendment, even as we go into, I dwell in the report itself, is the fact that we have received minutes of what transpired, both for the Gazette notices and some of the most sweeping decisions that this committee did. And we thought picking two would leave out the chair of the committee, who was the head of public service, and leave out the Minister of Devolution, who were deeply in this. So to be able to capture the whole recommendation of the committee, we found it as a committee that...
Order Senator Kangata and Senator Cherargei. Kindly let us give Professor Kamar time to make her submissions.
So it became very important that we capture all the minutes, and to capture all the minutes and the sweeping recommendations that they made, it was important to take the committee that is called itself a Food Security Committee. And you'll be able to see that, members will be able to see that in the documents that they have and the minutes in the annexes that have been given. Madam Speaker, having said that, on August 8, 2018, the Senate passed a motion on the establishment of the ad hoc committee to investigate the maize situation in the country. In the motion, the Senate resolved to inquire into the maize crisis in the country, specifically on the following. One was to investigate or to inquire on why farmers who had delivered their produce to the National Cereals and Produce Board had not been paid as of that date. Number 2 was that the quantity of was to inquire on the quantity of duty-free imported maize into the country during the duty-free window, which was to end on the 15th of October 2017, and why the period was extended. 3, the challenges, we are to inquire on the challenges facing the maize farmers and the National Cereals and Produce Board, and make recommendations on how to resolve the challenges. The 4th one was that the maize was to inquire on the maize received by the National Cereals and Produce Board in the year 2017-2018 season to establish the suppliers. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, the criteria, the last one that was given to us was to inquire on the criteria for identification of millers and business persons involved in the importation of maize to the country. Madam Speaker, I would like from the onset to say that the importation of duty-free maize in 2017 was shrouded in mystery. Each of the government agencies that came before us appeared before the committee gave conflicting statements and conflicting figures. The maize crisis that led to the flooding of duty-free maize imported into the country seemed to have been employed by both the public and private sector players to profiteer from distortions of the maize value chain. Madam Speaker, it's good to note that the Gazette notice that was given, which triggered the importation, is Gazette Notice number 3575, dated April 13, 2017, and which was...
Order, Senator Professor Kamal, there is a point of order. Senate Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Madam Speaker, this motion is being moved in an amended form, whereas that is regular, but we don't have a copy of the amended motion, nor has it been posted. I think now we have gone digital. So for us to have the full tenure, in fact, hearing her talking about those amendments at this late hour, these amendments are being brought today as the motion is being moved. And I was training myself to hear the reason why those amendments are being brought today without notice. But that may be justifiable. Could have been ordered to ask at least that amended motion either in hard copy or in soft copy be made available so that we don't speak to a motion that even notice was not given. She was just giving, the motion she's moving is an amended motion, which the motion is in the order paper, but what she's moving is an amended version of the motion. And if I heard her correctly, the full tenure of that amendment is not inconsequential. So would have been order, even for the people who will come to the House to contribute to this motion, that motion, as it is being moved now, be available in one form or another, because anybody coming to the House now will be debating to the wrong motion. Yeah. No. When I heard, it is something very drastic. It's not something small.
Senator Mutula.
Okay.
Orders, Professor Kamal, another point of order from Senator Mutula.
Madam Speaker, the second concern, other than the concern that Senator Orengo has raised, my concern is as follows. The recommendations are moved in an amended form, which means, Madam Speaker, that the committee agreed on the amendments. That would therefore necessitate another report that would have the signatures of the people who approved the amendments. I've been trying to look for it and I cannot find it. Unless the chair can direct us to it, it's not part of this bundle that has been given to us. So we're having difficulties following the amendments on the recommendations.
Yes, Professor Kamar, let us have the point of orders and then you'll be able to respond.
The other problem is, if I had a properly, and in fact I'm not delaying, I'm coming with guns blazing. I've just started. The effect of the amendment to that motion must be borne out by the report itself. Yeah. So, you know, if that is the truth, then that amendment needed, consideration by the committee to move or table an amended report, which is signed. Because, the original motion is accurate insofar as the recommendations are concerned, and I've looked at the recommendation. The original motion is in accord with the recommendations. But what is now moving in an amended form is not quite in accord with the recommendation. And the recommendation is just three pages. And there is, what do you call it? Yeah, yeah, matrix. Yeah, it is well laid out in a matrix. Yeah, and such motions, when you begin to see things being changed at the last minute, we need to know their motivation for some of these things.
Professor Kamar, you may be able to respond to these concerns.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I wish to respond to the concerns of the members. And I want to tell the members that it has not changed the form. What it has done is to increase the track net. Because the minutes that came to us, the evidence of why we wanted to deal with the CS of Treasury and the CS of Agriculture, we discovered that the meeting that authorized was actually a meeting that was chaired by the head of public service, where the two ministers, actually 3 ministers were in. So if you look at the minutes, and you'll find the minutes of November. In fact, the first minutes were of June 21st, and the minutes of November, you will find that if you concentrate on 2 members, you will have left the real gist of what happened. So this is to help members understand. In fact, my fear was that you were going to amend it to include that. The reason being that the members of that committee are the ones who made the sweeping recommendations that flooded the country with maize. It was not a decision of 2 people, and the only evidence we have are actually minutes. So we met as a committee, and we relooked at the minutes, because we got the minutes of November later, and the minutes of November are the ones that are more damaging than the minutes of June that we had used in our earlier recommendation. So there is nothing we have removed from the recommendations except to increase, to expand the number of people that we need to be looked at. Thank you.
Senator Kajwang.
Madam Speaker, I have chaired a committee and I've tabled reports in this House. And there's a sanctity of a report once tabled. It is not absolute because their amendments are allowed, but those amendments must follow some logical sequence. Madam Speaker, recommendations are based on observations and findings. And once a report is tabled, you cannot start introducing new evidence in the form of minutes. If those minutes were not seen by the committee, if the observations were not made by the committee, then it's a little bit dangerous to say that after the report was tabled, we came across certain minutes, we realized that it was an interministerial committee and not 2 CSs. Madam Speaker, could you rule that the mover is completely out of order by attempting to bring in new facts, new evidence, once that report has been tabled?
Senator Orengo.
She's now just gone into the landmine. Because if you look at the report, the matrix on recommendations, this report is talking about CS agriculture should do this. But when it comes to the CS Treasury, the report is very damning. It's saying it should take full responsibility as CS Treasury. In regard to the other CSs and the people who are in the ministerial committee, you are making general recommendations and observations. But when it comes to the question of responsibility, you put it squarely to one person who is the CS Treasury. I have no problem with that. But the problem is that what you're trying to do now is not borne by the recommendations you've made. What do we do with these recommendations? And what you're telling us to do, you're telling us to condemn people that you have not condemned in the report. Yeah, that's an afterthought. That's, if I understand the English language very well, what you're trying to do is an afterthought, which is not borne by the report. Look at this matrix, and you'll find what you're trying to do is giving a general cover to somebody you've already, trailed your guns at. Whether your evidence supports that position, I don't know. But I think you should be faithful to the report and not try to introduce amendments to the report by amending the motion.
Majority Leader, you still want to pursue your point of order?
So, Speaker, the interest of this House is the truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth. Mr. Speaker, any amendment that enhances the access to truth, Mr. Speaker, must be supported. Because I understand the chair of the ad hoc committee to mean that even though by the time they initially adopted their report, they had come to the conclusion that 2 people were culpable. Madam Speaker, I understood that to be saying, if I got it right, because I had asked also that question, to be saying it's not just 2, it's 2 plus. And Mr. Speaker, it is in the interest of this House to pursue not just 2 people, but plus the ones that have been, Mr. Speaker, identified by the document. And if we are interested as a House in not covering up for anybody, we should be willing to accommodate the committee's evidence in regard to if that committee leads to culpability of more than 1 person, or more than 2 people. So for me, I would have said we are the ones who actually should be commending the committee for going the extra mile to include that evidence that enhances the information regarding to persons of culpability than being the ones who are trying to undermine. Otherwise, we will be seen to be working at the behest of certain people who would like their names not to be included.
Senator Professor Kamal, for a response to the concerns that have been raised before I make a ruling.
Let me...
Senator Omogeni.
Madam Speaker, I was privileged to serve as a member of this committee. And Madam Speaker, I'm taken by surprise because we made these recommendations as serious deliberations. After serious deliberations, and Madam Speaker, we did not just pluck the name of the CS Treasury from the air. It was after analyzing the evidence that was presented before the committee. And I have tremendous, tremendous respect for Professor Kamar, who was our chair. We have not met to change the recommendations that we arrived at as a committee. And I want to plead, Madam Speaker, that we should be careful. We should be careful.
Order, Senator Professor Kamal. Let him conclude with his point of order.
Madam Speaker, we should be careful. We should be careful to ensure that we leave the integrity of this House intact. The time that we were given as a committee to arrive at recommendations lapsed long time ago. What would be the basis for us to change recommendations that the committee had already made during the life of that committee. Madam Speaker, I want to invite you to rule that my good friend, the distinguished senator for Wasingishu, is out of order, and the committee's recommendations should remain as they are. And if at all we need to add more meat to these recommendations, then it should be to add, on top of the recommendations that touch on a particular CS, we can not to delete, but to say on top of the recommendation that touch on that CS, we can add, but not to remove, Madam Chair.
Senator Cherargei.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I was in a meeting. I hope Senator Okongo might have been away serving his county issues. One I want to put straight is that anything that brings to the justice to farmers, we will support fully. And I want to thank Senator Professor Margaret Kamar for increasing the dragnet to ensure more people are held responsible, because these decisions that were made out of the process of many people. And therefore, it is not in any way that this report should come to the Senate. We are trying to give the Senate as many, the report in itself, because if you read the report, we must improve and increase on the dragnet so that many people should be responsible, should be held responsible for any decision that led to the maize crisis in this country. And therefore, I am a member of the Ad hoc Committee on Maize. I did attend when this Senator Kamar called all of us. Some of us were absent. But if you are absent, you must send an apology to that committee so that you don't come to the floor of the House and make allegations that there was no meeting. Yet some of us attended that meeting, and we agreed in principle and in the report that the chair of Ad hoc Committee did put across.
Senator Petronila Were.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I was also privileged to be a part of this committee, and I was in the meeting that looked at the amendments. And we agreed with the amendments, but not to delete the CS of Treasury and whatever, and devolution, but to include the interministerial committee. So we are including, not deleting. We are expanding the culpability, not deleting any of those. So if the chair, Madam Professor Kamar, said deleting, then that is where the issue is. That is one. Two, Madam Speaker, are we arguing whether amendments are possible or not? If at all they are possible, if a report has already been tabled, then we should be looking at the process of bringing those amendments. Have we followed it or not?
Senator Mutula Jr.
Madam Speaker, I raised this issue. It's actually a question of process on how these amendments have been done. We appreciate that you can amend. You appreciate that you can delete if you want. However, this report is going to face not only this Senate for purposes of decision, but when it goes out there, it's also going to face the problem of whether or not there was a process that was followed. And by listening to some of the committee members, I'm of the view, maybe, Madam Speaker, this ought to be stepped down because the public is watching, so that these small issues can be corrected by the committee. If a meeting was called where Senator Cherargei was seated, Senator Okongo was missing, or something like that, or whatever they did, why is it so difficult, Madam Speaker, to present that in addition to this information, so that as we contribute, we can understand where the committee is coming from? We are not challenging the committee. We're just saying, provide us that information so that we can support the report, whether to add, delete, or substitute your recommendations. As far as this is concerned, it's not here. That's what we were asking. Thank you.
Mutula Kilonzo and what Senator Orengo has said, that procedurally, we need to bring a proper drafted amendment that will then place on record the widened net of culpability that brings on board a group called Interministerial Committee on Food Crisis that in fact created a crisis and not solved a crisis. Madam Speaker.
One last one, Senator Orengo.
You know, the history about amending motions and reports is as old as this parliament. You remember the the JM report, the one that was, the one, that, you know, was, the one that was agreed by the committee was the one which was presented in the House. And Kennedy Kiliku, we can go to so many of those reports. And historically, they are very important, and particularly when the chairman is Senator Kamar, who, besides being a senator, is a scholar. I've got a report here of a commission of inquiry on Maize that took place in 1960, 65. And if you look at that report, it's as true as it was then as it is today. Now, Mr. Speaker, for example, if you look at the report adoption list, the Senator Fernandi, who is making a lot of noise here, was not there. Yeah. No, I'm just saying. I'm saying, yeah. And he said, yeah, he was not there. Now, and then faithfully, Madam Speaker, every minutes of every meeting of the committee are attached. Now, this other meeting, where are the minutes? Yeah, this is what we are asking, so that in future we will not be judged harshly. Yeah, it's still there.
I need to make a ruling on this. Can we?
Madam Speaker.
Senator Murkomen, just 1 minute so that
Madam Speaker,
Professor can respond before I make a ruling.
Just for the record, Madam Speaker, if you look at the report that was tabled in the House, a lot of the minutes are attached to it, and it shows most of the time Omogeni was with Cherargei were giving apologies. So to just say Cherargei alone, to say Cherargei alone is unfair. And Mr. Speaker, even that day of adopting the report, both of them were missing. So I didn't want an attack. I didn't want, no, just for the record, I didn't want Senator Orengo to mislead the House that it was only Honorable Cherargei. And Mr. Speaker, number two, and Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, on a more serious note, there is a valid argument being presented by Senator Mutula that in terms of, and seconded by Senator Wetangula and Orengo. I mean, Senator Orengo had said so many things, but the way forward was mentioned by Senator Mutula in terms of standing down the report for the committee to present us with all the evidence of adoption that is required. But Mr. Speaker, you know, some of us who come from Maize region and the country is watching. Madam Speaker, it must be known that our people are so anxious, especially some of us who come from, they are not just anxious, they're angry. Because this report, though it captures the way forward, Mr. Speaker, we must approve in this House so that we can find ways of oversighting those institutions. Mr. Speaker, insofar as the way forward about the maize is concerned, as we speak, they are unable to deliver their maize to National Cereal and Produce Board. As we speak, they have no guarantee of getting subsidized fertilizer. As we speak, Madam Speaker, those of last year have not been paid. So, Senate, even as we stand down the committee report, I beg you, Madam Speaker, that you order that this committee go and meet now, put their things in order, so that tomorrow we are back here, so that this week cannot pass, Madam Speaker, without this House having ventilated on this report and agreed on its way forward, so that some of us who have been asked so many questions about what the Senate is doing. Mr. Speaker, it's not just an individual senator, but us as a House, Mr. Speaker, will be able to get out there and say, we provided leadership and we were present and available. That is why you see me, Madam Speaker, I didn't move from my chair because of the importance of this report to all of us who are maize farmers. And that, Madam Speaker, ultimately, if we leave it the way it was, some people would have said, some are saving others and some are including others. And that is not a good spectacle in terms of where we are going. Let the report be tabled tomorrow or latest Thursday, and for us to be able to debate tomorrow. Tomorrow, Madam Speaker.
Senator Orengo, you're not on record. Kindly, 1 minute.
Mr. Speaker, I am happy with what the majority leader said. And I just want to make it clear that when I was reading this report, I was very excited about this report. I think they did a very good job. And I was coming here to commend the committee for the work they have done, only to arrive here and be confronted with amendments which are not supported by the report. But otherwise, nobody should mistake me in terms of the fact that the product of this report, and knowing the members of this committee, it is not without a reason why this is a good report, because we had very good people in this committee. And the report is actually, in substance, a report of a house of honor and dignity like this Senate. So I'm hoping that it should be done tomorrow. And making an amendment is not difficult. If it's just amending the motion, we could still debate this report tomorrow, because I agree that, the farmers have been waiting for a long time for this report to be considered by the Senate. I thank you.
1 minute, Senator Wetangula.
Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, sorry, I enjoyed what the majority leader said. In fact, when you were in Eldoret, farmers told him that he's a very good speaker. He should speak about maize. And I'm happy that he's spoken about maize and farmers here today. Madam Speaker, for avoidance of doubt, this committee sat and conducted its affairs with absolute integrity. And we allowed Margaret Kamar for chairing the committee. She never missed any meeting except once or twice when she was out of the country. Neither did I. Madam Speaker, I agree that you prioritize this report to be debated tomorrow. In fact, as we are sitting here, Madam Speaker, farmers from all over are sending SMSs looking to this House to give them some form of solution. So let me dispel any anxiety. We had Professor here, we had Senior Counsel Mogeni, Madam Milgo, we had Madam Petronilla, we had Lawyer Cherargei, we had a good team, and they did a good job, and we visited. You'll be shocked, Madam Speaker. They wrote in this country. We went to a place in Kisii, and Serious Board has delivered seeds farmers have bought, and not a single one has germinated, and money has been frittered away. So I want to urge you, Madam Speaker, to give this top priority and to disabuse any member from thinking anything different. We will bring an amendment, as Madam Kamara had proposed, that captures more people, not reduces the culpability of anybody.
Senator Professor Kamar, a quick response.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to appreciate the contributions that have come in. I think they have given us an insight of how we should bring in amendments in a procedural manner. And I am also impressed that this was 7 lawyers. It was a meeting of minds of 7 lawyers in this room, and we are very rich, actually, when it comes to that. So I'm very happy myself. I'm happy we can go and introduce that. I want to say that there is no introduction of something new. These are minutes that were given to us. There are minutes that you'll be able to see in the annexures, and you'll be able to discover that in the annexures, this committee called the Interministerial Committee on Food Security has the CS of Treasury, it has the CS of Agriculture, it has the CS of Devolution and all their PSs. It has PS of Internal Security. So actually, the reason I was using the word delete was basically because all of them are inside this one committee. But so I think we'll be able to mention all of them. There are 15 of them. And the main reason, Madam Speaker, that we thought we must relook at this is the fact that there are more sweeping recommendations that were given in November. When maize was being, had been harvested and 4 million bags of maize was being imported immediately, if you look at the minutes from Mexico, and immediate actions for 9 million bags. So we just want this thing to be very accurate and to be perfect so that it doesn't distort the message. In fact, Madam Speaker, I would have been surprised that the same members would not pick out that we seem to have, we need an amendment. That amendment would have been introduced by them. And that's why when we sat down, we said, let's do this. I guess it is procedural because the procedure was wrong. Because what I was meant to understand was that we can actually move it in an amended, form, which is allowable in the House, and that's why we did what we did. So yes, we will go and sit now, correct whatever must be corrected, and tomorrow we are back here. Madam Speaker, I thank you.
Honorable Senators, I need to make a ruling in view of the debate we've just had, and I want to start by invoking our own orders, Order 57, that says the Speaker may permit a senator to move in an amended form, a motion of which notice has been given, if in the opinion of the Speaker the amendment does not materially alter any principle embodied in the motion. Having heard all the concerns that have been raised and the debate that has followed, in my view, the issues that have been raised do actually could materially affect or impact on what this motion is all about. I have heard that we have not seen the amendments. We have not seen any signatures that may support the amendments from the members. In fact, from the submissions from the members, it looks like they don't agree on what really was agreed on. And as the motion for amendment was being done, I heard the Senator, Professor Kamar, talk about deleting, while another member of that committee says we didn't say delete. Others say we said add, and therefore...
In the debate on the one of the Senate, the differences between this bill and the one that the Senate passed, Madam Speaker, is, in my view, negligible. We must go back to the nature of determination of bills. The reason we are in this quagmire, Madam Speaker, as I contribute to the same, is because we have been unable, as Parliament, to find an amicable method of doing our work. If matters concerning counties are resident in the Senate, why then did we have to insubordinate ourselves to a bill from the National Assembly on county benefits? Every time a question of jurisdiction of the powers of the Senate, when it becomes very hot, Madam Speaker, we coil and agree to be insubordinated by the National Assembly. They do not do the same when it comes to matters which they think or perceive that are concerning money bills. And therefore, Madam Speaker, this is a concern, and these concerns must be raised. And to that extent, Madam Speaker, say that the original version of this bill passed by the Senate should have been given priority. But since we agreed not to give it priority, Madam Speaker, the bill as tabled before us through the National Assembly, which has tremendous interest from very many quarters, Madam Speaker, must be given priority and must come for voting as soon as possible. I sat in this Senate in the last session when this bill came here. I know the interests that were involved. I know the people that were pushing this agenda, both for and against. And the people who didn't want this bill to pass finally had their way. They cannot have their way now. And this must be put to rest as soon as possible so that, Madam Speaker, we have a common way of dealing with retirement and the benefits therefore. Because, Madam Speaker, there are a lot of the people who are dealing with either pensions, retirements, after they leave office, they find so many bottlenecks. And the reason the bottlenecks are there is because you do not have a framework. We were asking this question recently, and now that the one commissioner is here, the question must be answered. Why is the pension of members of parliament resident in the National Treasury as opposed to a Parliamentary Service Commission? Why do members of parliament have to queue before the treasury when we can easily manage this ourselves? Now, figure this out. If members of National Assembly and Senate are facing those problems, how worse does it get for any other person who is covered under this retirement benefit scheme? The best way, if Parliamentary Service Commission is managing our budgets as a kitty, they should manage our pensions together with the staff of Parliament, so that once you live here, you don't have to go to Treasury. That fund is administered here, that fund is invested here, that fund benefits members, but more importantly, that fund is paid promptly upon retirement. On the day you retire, we give you a package, you go home. I am aware that a lot of these funds have been investing into buildings. There's a building on Gong Road, 9 floors, where they're collecting money. Without the benefit of this bill, Madam Speaker, if this thing becomes ambiguous, there's a 5% fund that is used for administration. You do not want to even do the calculation of 5% of the billions of shillings that are in retirement benefit scheme, both in love fund and lab trust. These people are like cartels, like mafia. They are prepared even to pay bribes so that these bills don't go through, because they are getting money. We must get to the bottom of this bill, and this bill, Madam Speaker, must see the light of day. But in conclusion, as I support the framework, this Senate must sit seriously and look at ourselves and wonder. National Assembly Bill, County Government's Retirement Scheme, that is a contradiction. That is the reliction of Article 96 of the Constitution of Kenya. Because this is our work, this is our jurisdiction, this bill should have originated here. We should not have agreed to these motions. And those people who thought that the National Assembly should have had sway in a bill that we had debated, in a bill we had conducted public participation, in a bill we had spent so much resources on. A day will come when these people called the mafia will not see the light of day. I support.
Senator Mbogo George Achilo Ayako.
Madam Speakers, out there are interests of people who do not want a single entity to manage the retirement benefits of county workers. The interests of these people is the fees and the profit that they get from managing these funds. The interest of these people is to ensure that they continue living on the sweat of exploited county workers. Madam Speaker, I come from Migori County, and the county workers of Migori are miserable. I believe that other counties also have workers that are miserable. If you look at their skills and competence, they still possess or are seized of skills that they had when they were local authorities. The people who have been hired lately are people who are cronies of the powers that be. The people who we continue to authorize to be hired Like lately, I noticed that people called enforcement officers are being hired, and my county is thinking of hiring 350 of them. Now, Madam Speaker, we do not have nurses in those places. We do not have clinical officers. We do not have ECD educators or tutors in those areas. Those are critical devolved functions where we are bereft of staff. But we continue hiring people like enforcement officers because in political hard times, we use them to fight our battles. Now, Madam Speaker, to add insult to injury, issues of pensions are not being addressed as it is. As I speak today, members of the county assembly who had the misfortune of not being re-elected in Migori County have not received their gratuity. I know that problem is replicated in many other counties. People who served in dignity, people who built humble facilities there are now paupers walking all over the place looking for alms from us. Now, a bill of this nature is an important bill to ensure that there is continuity, to ensure that there is decency in the life of people who have given service to this nation. Now, when cartels and faceless characters hide somewhere and introduce interests that we do not understand, as a house, if we do not stand with the public interest, I am sure we will know no happiness on earth and we will know no happiness in heaven, because we are here to transact good pieces of legislation for our nation now, tomorrow, and the future, because we are the ones who have the privilege today. Madam Speaker, these vested interests that we are talking about today, you can see they have infiltrated our sister house, the National Assembly, and a bill which is competing in jurisdiction to our jurisdiction has been introduced in that house with the sole purpose of trying to steal the thunder that belongs to this house on Matters County. Now, Madam Speaker, I want to agree totally with my brother Mtula Kilonzo Jr. that it is high time that this house stood firm. It is high time that this house shook off attempts by vested interest to piggyback on very humble people who sweat it out, very humble people who are rained on when we get elected, very humble people who are excited when we are seeking votes from them. Madam Speaker, where there is a departure from what this House took time to deliberate, took time to debate, took time to agree on, and that departure is manifested in the bill that our sister house has put in place. We as a house have no option but to ensure that our position is the one that prevails, because it is, and it was in the wisdom of Kenyans in 2010 to have given us the responsibility of defending and protecting the interest of counties and the people who live in there. The other house was given other responsibilities, and it is the responsibility of all of us, including the chair, and including those who believe in constitutionalism, to stand firm and ensure that we are the house speaking for the interest of counties and for the interest of employees of those counties. Madam Speaker, matters pension are matters that are very sensitive, and in my earlier life as a member of this house, I had to sit out there for a few years to wait for my pension. It was not a nice experience. I had to complete various forms and seek information from people behind the counter to get my pension at that particular time, it's not an experience that you would want to enjoy. When you know that at the time you are serving, you are contributing to your pension. At the time you are serving, you want to have a smooth and comfortable life. In any event, life expectancy in Kenya is about 57 years. And if you look at the average age of members of this House, all of us are close to death. In fact, very many of us are living on borrowed time. So matters pension, if we look at the life expectancy of Kenyans, is a matter that we should take seriously. Kenyans don't live for very long. We are stressed. We are politically very hot, and blood pressure is very high. Our sugar levels are wild, and we don't live very long. So when we are talking about pension, reliability, security of pension, consistency, it is something that all of us should talk about it and should know that it touches the lives and future of our people. I want to end my remarks there and urge my colleagues who are coming after me to stand firm for the dignity of this House and not forget that it's the mandate of this House to ensure that interest of counties and the staff who serve in counties are protected and held dear. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Cheriot Aaron Kipkirui.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for this chance. And I begin on a very interesting note where the senator who spoke before me has urged us. It's not very usual that when you are contributing to bills, the normal tradition is to share your thoughts on what you think about the bill that is before you. Either you agree with the thinking or you disagree. But so passionate is Senator for Migori that he has urged us to put the interest of these county workers. And I think earlier on he had mentioned why he considers pension to be a very serious thing, that having gone through the experience himself, he knows that it's something that we need to treat with a lot of care and caution. I take his advice seriously because they say it's better to learn from the mistakes or the experience of others other than go through it yourself, especially during difficult and hard moments. So your advice is heeded, Senator for Migori. This bill, the history, as explained very ably by Senator Mutula, is a very interesting bill because for those of us who've had the opportunity to sit through it, through last session of Parliament and through this one, we've been able to see and read through the intrigues of what is being brought out to fore. By and large, it is a competition of two entities that are primarily supposed to take care of the interest of county government workers. And the truth of the matter is that industry reports will inform you that while one faction has ran away with the county governments, the other one has ran away with, not the executive of county governments, the other one has gone with the county assemblies. And therefore, that is why during our legislative summit, the 2 or 3 that we've had before, you'll realize that one of the entities is always a constant member. And even the diaries that you're given, the notebooks that we carry out of this summit are sponsored by this organization. Then when we go to the devolution summit, which leans more towards the executive, you'll realize that the competitor, also all the diaries and the notebooks that will come towards that are brought by the competing firm. The one that now this bill intends to merge, put together and ensure that the pensions of staffers who work with our county governments are safely secured, such that in the future, when you eventually retire after having served with our county governments, you are able to earn a decent living and enjoy the benefits of your sweat decently, just like any other person who worked in any other government or other parastatals. Madam Speaker, it is worth noting that this proposal, and I have taken time to read, and I know Senator Mutula, I can't see him in the House anymore, I think he's left, but, Yeah, I think he has crossed the floor, and it's good for his party leader to note that he now sits on this side of the House. I agree with his framework of thinking, but I do not share the same view as yours, that anybody who would have a different view to the merger can do so based on the words that you used was vested interest. I do not think that is accurate. Madam Speaker, we must always encourage the principles of democracy that appreciate that at different times we may hold different views, but it is not necessarily due to either vested interest. It's just about who we are. And maybe that has a lot to do with your training as a lawyer, as opposed to those of us who come from social science backgrounds, that you know that human beings are different and their perception and appreciation of life's issues vary from one to the other. I have taken time to read and listen also to the explanation being given and rendered by those who are opposed to the merger of the two entities. And I think the major point that they raise, unfortunately, though untried in Kenya, has been tried in other jurisdictions where pension funds are left out to compete with each other so that you ensure that there is maximum return on those that have invested. There is good reason also, of course, when you pull together resources as this bill is proposing, because the whole debate, the crux of the matter is that there are those who are saying, let's pull resources together so that you have one strong institution that can ensure that the workers enjoy and reap as much as possible from their pensions, so that ensure the fund continues to grow and you earn more. Those are the centralists. Then there are those who are pro-separation, whose argument is that the only way in life that human beings get better is when they compete with each other. I think it's a very informed debate to me. Only that. The only thing that I agree with Senator Mutula is that time has come for us to make a decision. We cannot continue with this endless debate for too long. That much I agree with you. The bit that I didn't agree with you on was on what will be the motivation for those who are saying coming together of the two entities or merger wouldn't be the most ideal. Therefore, Madam Speaker, I want to say that by the framework that is being proposed on this bill is generally agreeable to me. And I think, by and large, it captures the feelings and the ideas of what staffers and members of people who work with our county governments would wish to see in a properly functioning worker scheme. Let us not forget about NSSF. For those of you that are quick to point fingers at those who are saying do not merge, just look at NSSF with its history as an institution. In fact, somebody was wise enough to note and let us know during the deliberation that the only reason why NSSF has never collapsed is because of how liquid it is. This is an organization that by law, every month has billions checking into its account. Otherwise, if it was just a general business like any other, where you have to sustain it with cash flow, it would have collapsed. We read about scandal after the other. Imagine what would have happened if pension workers of such institutions had been grouped and separated, where you have maybe secretaries, dock workers, and that kind, each with their own independent pension fund. Would it have been more beneficial for them, or would it have been difficult, or would the workers have suffered based on that decision? The only reason why I am more inclined towards the merger and agree with this bill is based on our history and my understanding of our society as a Kenyan people. That many of the times we are not so good at keeping institutions alive. To the contrary, most of our parastatals and government institutions, as are being suggested here, end up collapsing because of mismanagement, people trying to profiteer and do things that are not ordinarily right. But by the safety gaps that have been put in place and the proposal that is being made, how they will merge, how they'll ensure that those who have invested in either of the funds, their investment is assured and that they will continue to profit even after the merger, then I tend to lean towards being convinced that merger of this institution will be a good thing because it will ensure, by and large, the most important thing that we should remember at the end of the day is that we are talking about funds of people who later on in their 60s, perhaps you don't have any other place to turn to other than to wait for that simple coin that comes to you at the end of the month for the years that you are able to work. Societies continue to evolve. Culturally, as a people, we still thrive on a dependency model of family dwelling, where you know by the time you're 50 or 60, you've taken your kids to school, and therefore they are working. Each time you're sick, they are able to send you. But the truth of the matter is that as society continues to evolve, and we can learn this from other democracies or other countries that are older than us, people will get to a point where they no longer care, where it's possible that you're 70, your kids are working, they're comfortable, but they just don't give a damn about you. It's the truth. And it works. It has happened in other jurisdictions. The same could be possible about us, much as our African culture at the moment at least has a good social safety net where the elderly at least are well taken care of. As we make this legislation, it's good to remember that society is moving towards a place where people need to know that they don't have to depend on others for them to survive. And therefore, with those very many remarks, Madam Speaker, I am willing to conclude. I can see Senator Stewart Madzayo hurrying me, and therefore, having been chair of the committee that brought this bill first to this House last Parliament, I'm sure there are things that he wants to tell the House. Therefore, with that respect, I want to conclude and listen to his wisdom. Thank you.
Senator Madzayo Stewart Mwachiro.
Asante Speaker kwa nafasi hii na mimi kuweza kutoa maoni yangu. Speaker, kwanza nataka nikubaliane na ndugu zangu wote seneta walioweza kutangulia mbele yangu kuongea, akiweko Senator Junior Mutula na ndugu yangu Achilo Ayako ametoka sijui ama yuko kule nyuma, na vile vile Junior Cheriot. Speaker, kitu cha kwanza ambacho nataka kusema ni kwamba mimi nilikuwa mwenyekiti hapo katika bunge lililopita, na nilikuwa mwenyekiti katika komiti hii ya kuangalia hasa zaidi mambo ya wafanyikazi katika county. Na ukizingatia zaidi utaona ya kwamba ni jambo la aibu hivi sasa tukiwa tunaongea. Ni aibu kubwa sana kwa bunge la Senate kuongea habari ya hii bill, ikiwa hii bill yenyewe haikuanzia hapa katika bunge la Senate. Kwa sababu haiwezekani kuwa tutakuwa na mambo yataendelea katika serikali za mashinani, haswa ikizingatia sana pesa za wafanyikazi ambao wameweza kustaafu. Hicho ni kitu ambacho ni lazima kianzie hapa. Na mimi mwenyewe nikiwa mwenyekiti niliweza kuanzisha hii bill hapa, na tukaenda nayo mpaka mwisho. Wakati ukatupata na kukawa na vikwazo vile ambavyo vilielezwa hapa na ndugu zangu, ya kwamba kunazo interest tofauti ama kunao watu wako na nafsi zao tofauti. Tukafika pale karibu na mto Jordan, alafu tukaona mambo wengi sana. Ikabidi sasa hawezi kufukika. Haya yote ni kwa sababu ya kwamba kulikuwa na watafunaji ambao wako na nafsi zao za kibinafsi. Mimi nataka kusema tu kwamba kitu muhimu katika bill hii ni sisi sote kama Wakenya sisi sote kama maseneta ndani ya bunge la Senate, kuzingatia ya kwamba sisi tukilumbana ama sisi tukishindana, watakaoumia ni wafanyikazi ndani ya serikali za mashinani katika kaunti. Na hii bill hii ya kuweza kuona ya kwamba pesa zao tumeziweka hali ya kisawa sawa, kuona ya kwamba kumekuja na mikakati bora ya kuona hizi pesa za wafanyikazi, Speaker, zimeweza kuwekwa mahali ambapo kila wafanyikazi wanapofanya, ikifika wakati wao wa kwenda kustaafu, wanaweza kuona pesa zao ziko katika hali madhubuti ya kwamba wanaweza kuzifikia, wanaweza kuzitoa, wanaweza kuzitumia. Kitu ambacho kinaghadhibisha zaidi ni kwamba kumekuwa na majabali wawili wakipigana kuhusikana na hii mambo ya pesa za wafanyikazi za kustaafu. Na sijui ilikuwaje wakati huu ikaonekana hii bill ni lazima ianzie katika bunge la kitaifa, ambao ni makosa makubwa. Na hii mimi nili-raise ama niliweza kuisema na nikaweka wazi, na nashukuru ndugu yangu mwenyekiti yuko hapa, mimi nikiwa mmoja wao katika ile kamati, na nilipinga sana, nikasema si haki hii bill kuanzia ndani ya bunge la kitaifa. Hii inatakana ianzie katika bunge la Senate. Lakini kama tunavyoelewa, wakati ule kulikuwa bado hakuna handshake, kwa hiyo ilikuwa wengi wape, na ikapita ikaendelea. Kwa hiyo katika hizi harakati, hivi leo tunajadiliana bill ikiwa imeshaongeleshwa kule, wamepitisha, wameleta hapa, sisi ni kama ambao sasa ni kuambiwa jadilieni yale yaliyoko sasa. Mimi nataka kusema kitu kimoja. Hawa wafanyikazi wanaofanya kazi katika county, Speaker, ni wafanyikazi ambao ni binadamu kama sisi. Naweza kucheleweshwa malipo yao ya kustaafu ama ya uzeeni. Utakuja kuona wafanyikazi wa county wakati akiondoka ndani ya county, Speaker, utashangaa kama huyu mtu aliweza kufanya kazi hapo awali ama hakufanya kazi kabisa. Maana yake anacharara, anaharibika, hali yake ya maisha inakuwa mbaya. Watoto wanatoka skuli, saa nyingine wengine pia mabibi wanawatoroka, wanaishi kivyao. Kwa hiyo Speaker, hii ni bili muhimu sana ya sisi tukiwa ndani ya hili bunge la Senate kuweza kujadiliana na kutafakari zaidi ya kwamba ni vipi tutaweka matakwa ya wafanyikazi wa county mbele. Wakati watakuwa kila mtu amefanya kazi. Wako watoto sasa wameandikwa kazi, wako na miaka 23, 24, wakati akifika miaka 60 itabidi aende retire. Pesa yake ni lazima iwekwe katika kielelezo cha kwamba kitapatikana wakati wowote, wakati wake umri ukifika wa kuweza kustaafu. Kwa hiyo hii ni dalili kubwa ya kwamba ikiwa mtu amekuwa anaweza kustaafu, pesa zake ziweze kumsaidia, aweze kwenda hospitali, aweze kuangalia matibabu yake, aweze kuelimisha watoto wake, aweze pia vile vile kujikimu kimaisha ili aishi kama watu wengine. La kusikitisha ni sasa tuko na ndovu wawili wanashindana. Lakini kama ilivyosemekana hapo awali na wale watangulizi wenzangu maseneta, ni kwamba wakati huu hii bill ambayo iko hapa hivi sasa, kuna umuhimu, Speaker, tuweke nafsi zetu kando kuona ya kwamba hii bill yenyewe imepita na imeweza kusaidia wafanyikazi walio katika county. Kwa sababu hapa tusiweke nafsi zetu binafsi alafu ikaleta mtafaruku fulani, ili bili isiweze kujadiliwa ama isiweze kuendelea na alafu irudi nyuma tena. Wakati huu hakuna kurudi nyuma, wakati huu ni hii bill lazima ijadiliwe hapa. Tuko na ndugu yangu hapa mwenyekiti wa kamati, ya wafanyikazi ndani ya taifa letu la Kenya katika bunge la Senate, na ni sharti kuona ya kwamba ikiwa sisi tulisema tutajadiliana na tutakubaliana kama vile tulivyofikiana ndani ya kamati kwamba ijapokuwa wameleta wale ni sawa, hewala, hiyo hakuna neno, tutajadiliana na tutaangalia vile tutakavyokuwa. Kwa hiyo mimi naunga mkono ya kwamba swala hili lazima tujadiliane, hii bill tukubaliane wakati huu, isiwe tena na mtafaruku wa aina yoyote. Bi Speaker, asante sana.
Senator Halake Abshiro Soka.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to also lend my voice to the discussions on the County Government Retirement Fund Bill. I rise to support, but like my colleagues have said, I have concerns around bills that were before this House that then end up coming back to us from the National Assembly. And there are many, Madam Speaker, as you know. While, again, I'm hearing my brother saying, let's not make this about ourselves, which I think is correct. Again, as this House, while I was reading this bill, at the end of it, it did say, this bill concerns counties and this bill is not a money bill. Now, if that is the case, and this House had a similar bill that we debated upon, I wonder why then this, our bill got swept under the carpet and then we are now discussing this bill under the National Assembly. Madam Speaker, as you know, each time a bill is a money bill, the National Assembly is very quick to point that out and to make sure that that goes to its rightful place, the National Assembly. Fair enough. But in this case, it seems that as Senate, we have chosen to just give up on the bill, a very good bill that we had in this House, that then now has been overtaken by events of this bill. That said, Madam Speaker, provided this bill is taking care of the citizens, as you know, for a very long time, retirees have suffered at the hands of some of these funds. People have spent every single thing they have from the time they retire to the time they die, just chasing to get the little amounts, the drawdowns, and the little amounts that is due to them. But I don't see much by way of implementation or by way of ensuring that that problem has been resolved in this bill. So one of the things perhaps in the regulations that the Cabinet Secretary is going to come up with is to make sure that these regulations ensure that there's robust implementation of some of the provisions of this bill with regards to how people access their money, how the transition from this to this bill is going to happen, so that then the people that have suffered at the hands of some of these schemes do not continue to suffer. Madam Speaker, as you know, a lot of people have had to, of course, make several trips to come to NSSF or to come to Nairobi to claim very little amount, sometimes spending so much money out of money they don't even have to begin with. And so my prayer then is, as this House, as we debate this bill, as we ensure that this bill sees the light of day, we must make sure the regulations that follow this bill are going to be useful and are going to take care of the gaps that exist in the other schemes that we've had where our retirees have suffered immensely at the hands of some of these schemes. Mr. Speaker, Madam Speaker, as you know, as a child of a retiree myself, I know how many times, you know, my father and other members of my family have had to come to Nairobi to look for some of these, some of their dues, which they have not got. Up to today, some of them continue to do this. But my worry with this bill, Madam Speaker, is that my worry with this bill, as I look at it, is that this House, because this is not our bill, I don't know how much power we may have over what is going to happen next. I'm not sure that if we pass this bill, then we will have the control, or our say in what happens next. And for me, what is most important, because we have beautiful laws in this country, and it's not for lack of laws and legislation that
people suffer. It's for lack of implementation. So this bill is a bit, in my opinion, a little low on what happens next.
Order, Senator Abshiro, there is a point of order from Senator Sakaja.
Okay, sure, yes.
You know, Madam Speaker, the senator who was on a fit needs to agree to be informed, but I have seen she's responded in the affirmative. I just want to inform the senator and maybe the rest who are listening that yes, in as much as this bill did not necessarily originate from us, what happened is that we had already brought such a bill. The bill passed at second reading, and then the government copy-pasted our bill, save for a few grammatical errors and one or two provisions. So the fear you have that it may not, cover what we'd have wanted ideally, it should not be there, because it's just the same thing we passed. But we still have an issue with why Senate was bypassed. We just decided that for the sake of the workers, let us not dwell on an ego fest with the National Assembly, so that we have another bill that goes all the way there and comes back. But in terms of form and content, it is 98% the same bill that we had actually passed earlier.
Senator, yes. Madzayo.
Asante Speaker, yangu ni hoja ya nidhamu. Je, itakuwa sawa kama mwenyekiti kuweza kufafanua na kutumia lugha ambayo anasema ya kwamba haina haja ya Bibi Shiro kuweza kuuliza ni kwa nini hii bill ilianzia kule ndio ikaja Senate na sisi tumeikubali? Hilo nafikiri ni swala ambalo bwana mwenyekiti ni sharti alijibu, sababu atapata wakati wa kujibu ama atajibu sasa hivi ikiwa ameuliza yeye katika mchango wake katika hii bill. Je, ni haki hii kwamba sisi tunajadiliana bill kama hii ambapo sisi hatukuianza hapa ndani na tunataka kujua ni kwa sababu gani?
Senator Sakaja.
Kama niseme kwa Kiswahili ningependa tukumweleza Senator Madzao ya kwamba si kuwa na shida wala hoja la nidhamu wakati Senator Abshiro alisimama, ilikuwa kumpa tu maelezo zaidi ya kuwa ingawapo sisi kama Senate tuko na shida ya kwamba mswada huu ambao ulikuwa umeshajadiliwa hapa na tukapitisha ulianzishwa tena katika bunge la kitaifa. Ukiangalia yale ambayo yaliomo ndani ya mswada huu ni sawa na yale ambayo tulipitisha. So nilikuwa tu kupeana maelezo zaidi, lakini pia hii bill vile imekuja huu mswada umeletwa na kiongozi wa walio wengi, sio tena mwenyekiti wa kamati. So sitakuwa na nafasi baadaye ya kujibu mswada huu.
Senator Abshiro. Sorry, Senator Abshiro. Order, there is a point of order from Senator Petronilla.
Madam Speaker, thank you. I rise on a point of order in agreement with Senator Mazayo that we had this bill in this Senate and we had conversed it, this county retirement benefits scheme. And it starts with the word county, really. So it should be something that should have originated from this Senate. Would just like the chair of the committee to tell us why we had to drop ours so that now we start moving with the one from the National Assembly.
Senator Sakaja. Can you have your mic on?
Yes, my mic is on. It is interesting, Madam Speaker, that both members are members of my committee. And within the committee, we have been very clear that our bill has not been dropped. Our bill is still there. It is actually, I think sometimes it comes up on the order paper. But we said that since this bill has come from the National Assembly, and this was at committee deliberation and we actually agreed that we can then still proceed with this bill. We have gone to public participation. We are retreating as a committee to actually do our report on this specific one, so that we don't ignore it, yet there's still need for a bill to be passed for the same purposes. We decided to be pragmatic, in as much as we are very upset that the National Treasury, and this is something I've said on record, chose to bypass, and not for any good reason, not because it was a money bill or anything. In fact, this bill itself, they say themselves, it's not a money bill. Not for the difference in content, it is the same content, but possibly because of disdain towards the Senate. But we said in the bigger interest, since it's the same thing we have done, instead of us waiting to finish ours, which is still in abeyance, to go again to the National Assembly, to start at first reading, second reading committee, to come back here, the person who is suffering in that ego fight would be the workers. So since this one has gone through the process, if we agree, and members will vote on the specific provisions, if members feel it's a bad bill, members are at liberty to drop it, and we go on with ours, which is still the same bill. If members feel that for us to reduce the time being spent on it, because many county governments owing billions, Nairobi, for instance, owes 16 billion to workers, many owing billions are using it as an excuse, saying the Senate has failed to provide a legal framework for them to pay. So let's deny them that excuse and deal with the one which would be faster if the content is the same. But Senator Petronila will have time as a member, as a ranking member, a very loyal member of my committee, to actually go through the variances that might exist between this and what we had done before.
Point of order, Senator Mutula.
Now it occurs to me that we actually have a crisis. We have a crisis, and I don't think my good brother Senator Sakaja has addressed himself to it. The fact that this bill has originated from the National Assembly means we have no control over it. That's what it means. So in prioritizing it in the pretext that it's a government bill, once we pass it, it will go to them. We have no guarantee that they will pass it. Meanwhile, the bill, yes, assuming that we disagree with its content, because
Senator Abshiro, if you want to talk, kindly do the necessary.
The veto power of the bill will be moved from the Senate to the National Assembly if we pass this bill the way it is. Now, assuming that what Senator Sakaja, the chairman, is saying is correct, that the bill which they are discussing is still pending, so Senator Abshiro has now brought an interesting question. What is going to happen when we pass their bill before we pass ours? Are we going to hold on to ours, or are we going to hold on to theirs, or are we going to pass both and send to them? That direction is important. And as whip, I am going to whip seriously unless direction comes as to how we are going to move this bill. But what is even important is that, is this also part of the scheme by the cartels to ensure that we have this confusion about these bills, so that then these bills never see the light of day? That assurance is important, because if that doesn't happen, the cartels that I spoke about are having a field day, clapping when they're watching us in this confusion. Thank you.
The mover of this bill is actually the majority leader. I wish she would have been here to shed more light, but I'm sure Senator Sakaja, being the chair he is, will be able to give us some insights as to the questions that are being asked.
Madam Speaker, these are concerns that we've all had with this process. In fact, it's interesting for my good friend Senator Mutula to say that we would then schedule this bill as a priority and leave ours, yet I do not sit at the House Business Committee. He sits in the Senate Business Committee. And in the Senate Business Committee, the decision that had been made then was that if indeed it's same in content and character, if we go to mediation and don't agree, because we have amendments, we've sat through even full-day sessions here with more than 17 institutions. We have a lot of amendments that we want to bring to this bill. We've also discussed with the National Assembly and told them the kind of amendments we have. If they decide, once we've passed it, them not to pass it, then the bill is lost. If the bill is lost, we still have our bill, because our interest is to make sure that the county government workers ultimately get a retirement scheme. But if we decide to hold this one in abeyance as well, and then deal with the other one, where the ones who will be perpetuating that confusion. So those cartels who wanted the confusion wanted us to have two live bills at the same time, being debated yet of the same content, form, and character, so that we extend that process. We are fighting them by saying we are shortening it by finishing a bill, whether it is this one or ours. Yet, Madam Speaker, the Senate Business Committee is at liberty. If you want to say, let us drop this bill, I'll be happy. In fact, I'll be happier because I'd rather push a bill where I am the mover. This one, I'm not the mover. And the other one, we already passed the second stage. We're at committee of the whole house. We can go look at the amendments there. But if I decide not to look at my interest as a mover of a bill and say what is in the best interest of the workers is to get this bill passed, or a form of this bill passed as soon as possible. The fastest route, and I'd like to persuade the senator, because you know the legislative process, the fastest route is this bill, which is the same as what we had, has gone through first reading, second committee, third reading, come to the Senate, we're at second reading. If we pass it with our amendments, and we sit with them at mediation and agree, in less than a month, our workers will have a bill. If we don't, the longer route is to go on with ours, finish it at amendments, send it back there for first, second, committee, and let it come back here for concurrence. But whichever way the Senate decides, we are comfortable as a committee. I think we've had it for far too long. We're comfortable, whichever way.
Senator Cherargei, you have an intervention?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. It has always been our interest that the workers that work in county governments, this issue should be resolved. But I want to agree with Senator Mutula that this confusion is not good. And I wish your office, and so that we can agree, so that we don't have two bills, that at the end of the day, although they have agreed that it is not a money bill, and yet it has counties, it cannot be allowed. And therefore, I have expressed reservations on this, and the chair is fully aware on this, these reservations, that this confusion could be there in an intentional way to serve some partisan and selfish interests in an aim and bid to undermine the rightful interest of all county workers across 47 counties. Because so long as legal framework is not in place, the cartels will continue to have field day in this confusion, because they will take advantage of non-availability or lack of legal framework that is in place. And therefore, these issues must be real, because how can you, this bill, and then we had our own at the Senate, and then there was one from the National Assembly, and we have agreed that it's not a money bill. And those are some of the issues that we need to agree. Even if we go, I have heard my chair saying, even if we go for mediation and they refuse it with our amendments, or they refuse at mediation level, it will mean we'll still go back, which will be unfair to everybody and every worker in this country in terms of the interests that are there in Love Fund and Rap Trust. And any people who have dipped their hands in the cookie jar, both in Love Fund and Lab Trust, will not sleep and see these things to a success.
Senator Farhia.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think we are all agreeing on the same thing and yet disagreeing. In my view, if the cartels want lack of framework, and because we had our bill first, it went through, and these people, put another bill through National Assembly, and through that they want to cause confusion, I think we should not allow them. We owe it to the workers of the county government that they have something to retire and look forward when they are at an age where they cannot make their own income. I think let us not allow the cartels to win by dropping this bill. Let us just pass it. And then, if there are amendments that we are unhappy with, I mean, even me, I looked at both bills. Ours was much more superior. I'm also proposing some amendments, and I think I took all my time when I was contributing to this bill because it had a lot of issues. Regardless of that, I think we owe it to employees of counties for these bills to pass, because if they have two running systems, then remember the costs are also two. In terms of the fund manager, there will be two fund managers. Administrators, there are two administrators. Actuary, there are two actuaries. So all that cost is culminating, and these people have their interests at heart, and because of that, they don't want these bills to pass. So I think as Senate, let's take responsibility, let it pass. We cannot afford to play supremacy battles on the lives of employees. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Mutula. Yet on a point of order.
I'm on a point of order, yes. What we are doing is called tautology. It amounts to nothing. It's the same. It's the same. If we have debated this bill and it's similar to our previous bill, I would propose that we move our bill with its amendments, forward it at third reading, include our amendments on this bill, and then forward it. Yes, otherwise, what we are debating now, we have already debated without a good reason why we are regurgitating our debate. So if we have our own amendments and we of the view that ours is superior, it's time to play hardball and show the Kenyans that we will not play to something that is akin to kindergarten play stuff. Bring our bill with its amendments at third reading, pass it. Include our amendments on the bill filed by the National Assembly, and then return to sender, RTS, so that then when it arrives at the National Assembly, they have the bill by the Senate and the bill by the National Assembly. What the majority leader has done in this bill is to reverse this thing to the extent that Senator Sakaja, the minute you finish this bill, you will not be able to bring back your bill by the committee. You cannot put this Senate to that sort of work. Otherwise, then we are going to waste taxpayers' money by sitting here to do something that we have done again. Thank you.
Hoja ya nidhamu kutoka kwa Mheshimiwa Madzayo.
Asante Bispika. Bispika, jambo moja tu nilikuwa nataka kujua ya kwamba ikiwa kuna bill ambayo tayari hivi sasa tunaijadilia na ni ya bunge la kitaifa, na vile vile kamati yetu hapa katika bunge la Senate tumetengeza bill kama hiyo, nataka kuuliza ndugu yangu mwenyekiti ambaye anasema kwamba ni sharti ile yake itakuja itajadiliwa, lakini nataka kumweleza kitu kimoja tu, kwamba kiongozi wa walio wengi ndani ya bunge la Senate hataweza kukubali kabisa ikiwa yeye ndio ameleta bili hii hapa na yeye akaiongelesha hapa kama kiongozi wa walio wengi upande ule wa Senate. Leo hivi tunaambiwa kwamba mwenyekiti wangu anasema ya kwamba atakuwa na uwezo wa kuleta hiyo bili hiyo. Maneno ni hayo. Sheria ni hizo. Kila kitu ni hicho. Hapo ndani ya hili bunge la Senate hata kubali yule kiongozi bwana Murkomen. Huo ndio ukweli wa mambo. Kwa hiyo tusifichane kilugha hapa. Tuambiane uwazi kama hii bili alionayo ataendelea nayo ama ataiacha. Alafu tuangalie tutashika lipi, tuache lipi. Kuliko kueleta confusion sasa, iko bili inaongeleshwa katika bunge la kitaifa, iko bili inaongeleshwa katika bunge la Senate. Hiyo si sawa. Na tukifanya hivyo ni lazima tuzingatie ya kwamba ndovu wakipigana, manyasi ndio huumia. Hapa tunaendelea kupigana sisi bunge la sijui la kitaifa, bunge la Senate, wanaenda kugombana kwa sababu ya pesa za wafanyikazi. Wanaumia hapa ni wafanyikazi. Hatukuletwa hapa kunyonyesha kuonea wafanyikazi. Tuliletwa hapa kusaidia wafanyikazi na sheria. Hii si haki. Kwa hiyo Bispika, lazima mwenyekiti afafanue kiunaga ubaga.
Senator Cherargei, you still want to make an intervention? Chair, I'll give you after they have made their interventions.
Madam Speaker, I think we agree that we need to resolve this matter at all given intents and purposes. But if there is a way we can consolidate both bills and ensure that we agree and go forward. But if, as a Senate, we must make a decision to drop, because I've also read both bills and ours, which was moved by Senator Sakaja, who is my chair of Labour, is much more better and superior than the one of the National Assembly. So I don't know why my chair is retreating back and standing behind, which is a half-back from the National Assembly, and there is nothing more we can do more than that. And therefore, I think the chair need to take a position for the interest of his own even workers who are on strike the other day at the gates. They are on strike, the workers of of Nairobi City County. And they want, these are part of the labor rights that the workers are looking for as per both in spirit and substance of Article 41 of the Constitution of Kenya. So I think, Madam Speaker, we must take a position and agree that which way forward to ensure that we save the hard-earned money of county workers across 47 county governments in this country. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Sakaja. Sorry, Senator Halake, then Sakaja will have a right to respond as the chair.
Madam Speaker, while I'm happy to have sparred debate, is it in order for me now to lose all my time? I was on the I don't know if, okay.
Your time is not being used by anybody. It will be utilized by yourself.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
These are just points of order. Senator Sakaja.
Thank you. Madam Speaker, clearly this discussion is emitting more heat than light. It is emitting heat more than light because we are going around the same circle. We are all clear about the interest of the Senate. Apart from putting our foot down, it's really to get this legislative framework done. And I've given an example of what would be the faster route. Members at liberty to decide, and the Senate Business Committee, where I don't sit, can be able to schedule both bills. I am sympathetic, and I like the proposal by Senator Mutula, because the Senate will pronounce itself in terms of amendments. The amendments we want as a House, we can put them in both the bills, but let it not be that this House has killed a bill, any of the two, that is providing rights for our county government workers. We must decide to push both, push the one we did to them, and this one they have done with the amendments we want as a Senate, but ultimately there must be the legislative framework. So it is up to you, Senator Mutula, the leader of my minority, Senator Orengo, the leader of majority, and all those at House business, to even decide to pose this one and prioritize ours. We go to committee with our amendments, and then now do this one to committee with our amendments. So that both of them go there. If they agree at mediation, that decision is what we call tactical, in the abundance of caution. Out of the abundance of caution, because you know how they've been behaving before. But you see, Madam Speaker, I am neither the mover of this bill, neither am I part of those to schedule it. So the ball lies squarely in the court of the Senate Business Committee, and I will be very happy with my committee, who, in fact, there's a 5 p.m. for the third time on the same bill, same amendments with more than 18 organizations. I am more than ready for us to finish this. Whichever way, the Senate must pronounce itself, and the Senate must get this done.
Yes, another intervention by Senator Olekina.
Madam Speaker, I have listened to my colleagues' debate on this, and I'm just wondering about all those county government employees who were seconded to the county governments. Madam Speaker, I'm on the floor, and I've listened to...
He's on a point of order. Let him conclude his point of order.
I've listened to the debate on which direction it's taking, whether the bill originated from here. We canvassed on the bill at the House Business Committee, which I sit on, and we agreed to proceed with this bill. Now, I'm a little bit baffled as to why we are now arguing and saying, why isn't it that the bill, what happened to the bill that was introduced in this House? I think it is about time, Madam Speaker, that we conclude this debate on this bill. The truth is, Madam Speaker, we have two interested parties here. They agreed, one attempted to renegade, and what I can see, and I'm sorry, you'll forgive me for saying this, but it's the truth, there's a lot of special interests here. all these forces going around. It is time that this House pronounce itself. We conclude this bill. Let the county government workers prepare their way to retirement.
That does not look like a point of order. I now go back to Senator Alake.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think the point is made and it has sparked quite a bit of debate. But one thing that disturbs me is this, Madam Speaker. I've heard our chair say, you know, we need a legislative framework so that our counties can get work, can start getting a framework within which they can, the retirement benefits can be, retirement scheme can be executed. Is this House saying that a bill that concerns counties, a bill that is not a money bill as it states, a bill that's rejected in this House, that this House is not in a position to provide the right framework, that only if a bill comes from the National Assembly can we then provide counties, which is our mandate to protect, that we can only provide that framework from something that has come from the National Assembly, when in fact, we actually had debated this and were almost about done. And I know there are concerns around perhaps when it goes there, it's going to be sat on, and therefore, you know, let's make the bigger, but this is happening with all the bills. I know in my committee of ICT, for instance, we did a data protection bill that was threatened for another data protection bill to come, but we stood our ground and we said we're going to move on with this. And if there's any need for harmonization, why is it not that the Senate bill or the Senate framework is the one that then accommodates the harmonization than the other way around where we're throwing our own bill? Now, I know that from the discussions and from the arguments I've heard, may sound like, oh, now we're trying to fight, and therefore the grass is what's going to suffer. But why should this House continue to be then, if that is going to be an order of day for us? When Kenyans say, you know, Senate should be done away with, when Kenyans say Senate, you know, is not useful to us, are they right? Going by this? In fact, all the other points I wanted to make, I think I'd give back my time, because until such time as this House decides, we either are able to provide the framework.
I notice that the minority leader has an intervention.
Yeah, I am a lot in sympathy with what is coming out from the House. But, you know, there used to be a Chinese leader who said that he does not care whether the kite is black or white, so long as it can catch mice. And that was the secret behind why China is slowly becoming the biggest economy in the world. I think the most important thing to realize, and probably we'll never be able to resolve it, and it will just be lamentations. I think you should look at the fact of the matter that in the last year up to now, there are only 3 bills that have gone through the Senate, which have gone through the National Assembly. The whole year, only 1 statute that has originated from here has become part of the law of Kenya. The only bills that have become part of the law of Kenya are the allocation of revenue and all that. So what I'm pleading, I think it's better to look at the bigger picture. Probably this should go back to the House Business Committee to have a final word on it. But I'm pleading to the Senate that we better look at the bigger picture. Such sibling rivalries are all over the world. In Congress, if you look at what is going on, constant rivalry. People are fighting for space. Parliaments have fought for space, even with the executive. But I think now, most of the time, we better look at what the people need out there. And if they are crying for something, and because of rivalry, we are not able to provide it, then I think we are going to lose we have lost the script already. People out there think that Senate is the one who is sitting on everything. And all we can do is just thump our chest and say we are the bigger house and it must come here. The courts have decided. Bills go to the president. He has sense. He doesn't care whether it has to pass through Senate. So I think sometimes it's better to be pragmatic instead of saying, the whole of this year. I can assure you again, there's going to be only 3 statutes that will be passed by this House that will become part of the law of Kenya. I think what must happen is that the leadership of the Senate should sit with the leadership of the National Assembly, with the executive, and resolve this matter once and for all. Because no bill which is, in fact, it was said out there that we are generating more bills, but none of them has become part of the law of Kenya. Not a single one. So the problem is not about this bill. The problem is this House. We are asserting ourselves. And I think even a meeting with the president is important because when a bill goes to the president, he should look at it and decide whether that law can be called an act of parliament, because an act of parliament means it has passed through Senate and the National Assembly. But the tendency is that any bill is being assented to, whether you like it or not. So I think let us be pragmatic and look at the bigger picture. And I like what this Chinese guy said. Don't care about the color of the cat, so long as it can catch mice. And eventually, we'll gain this space. But right now, I don't think we are succeeding. But in respect of this bill, I agree with you entirely. Let it go back to the House of Business Committee as a priority, and we make a decision once and for all. But the problem is bigger than this bill. And I think the Chairman Sakaja knows about this, that, the problem between the National Assembly and the Senate is not going to be resolved by fighting over bills.
Senator Halake, I need to make a ruling in view of the submissions that have been done.
Okay. Madam Speaker, are you saying I proceed?
No, please. Order. Senator Mutula Kilonzo.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In understanding Order 105.1, I hereby move that the debate on the county retirement bill on the order paper be deferred or adjourned and referred to the Senate Business Committee for a determination in view of the arguments and counter-arguments, Madam Speaker, that have been raised this afternoon, which have not shed any light. Thank you.
Who is your seconder?
Senator Petronila will second my motion.
Okay, thank you, Madam Speaker. I second the postponement of the debate on the bill, the County Government's Retirement Scheme Bill.
So I say. Honorable Senators, I now propose the question that the debate on this bill be now adjourned. Senator Orengo, Minority Leader.
Madam Speaker, I want to suggest to the House, whereas I agree that this matter should not proceed beyond the second reading, but the last meeting of the House Business Committee, we had agreed that this bill should go through the second reading, and then we will defer the third reading when we are dealing now with the amendments. And if those amendments that will emanate from both sides of Parliament will not be in agreement, then the bill will not be read a third time. But considering the amount of time we have spent debating on this bill, I suggest that we conclude the second reading, and then things will take their course on the third reading. But for now, I propose that we proceed with the conclusion of the second reading.
Senator Butula, you have an intervention? Okay. Honorable Senators, this being a debate that does not affect counties, I therefore put the question. Sorry, I do not see the request here. The request I have, okay. Senator Sakaja.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, in as much as I consider Senator Mutula to be wise, I know Senator Orengo is wiser, even if it's just longevity in the profession. And even his appeal to us to being pragmatic. I think there's wisdom, because the questions that have been put on us discussing this bill are not legal questions. Legally, Madam Speaker, Article 109, 1 says Parliament shall exercise its legislative power through bills passed by Parliament and assented to by the President. And 109.2 says that any bill may originate in the National Assembly. And then Article 3, 109.3 says a bill not concerning county government is considered only in the National Assembly. 4 says a bill concerning county government may originate in both, either. So the question we're talking about is not a legal question that would need a ruling on the admissibility of this bill as it is. It is actually a question of how we are positioning ourselves as a House, what we feel about the fact that this bill was brought from either side. So I think there is wisdom in it being dealt with at second reading, even without putting it to a vote. But let's finish the debate at second reading, and then let the Senate Business Committee determine the tactical, the tactics around it. And I really like the proposal that both my bill with its amendments and this bill with amendments continue being prosecuted, because even if they're the same in form and content, because of even the title, they are not the same bill.
Order, Senator Sakaja. The debate now is whether we should adjourn or not.
That is what I'm
restrict
debating.
ourselves to the adjournment.
Exactly, Madam Speaker. If you listen to me carefully, I'm saying, because I'm responding to what Senator Orengo said, the leader of minority, that then there is wisdom in us not adjourning debate on this bill.
Order, Senator Sakaja. Are you saying that the Speaker is not carefully listening?
No, Madam Speaker, I'm not saying anything beyond what I have said on the mic. And if there's been any implication, if it has been implied that I've said that, I want to be clear that I know the Speaker is always listening. and listening carefully for that matter. In fact, I should have said, since you are listening carefully, not if you are listening carefully. Since you are listening carefully, what I'm saying is...
That is better for the record.
Yes, for the record. That let us not necessarily adjourn this debate. Let the SBC deal with it administratively once we finish debate on second reading, and then we can agree which one to schedule at whatever point, and we'll accept the wisdom of the SBC in scheduling. Either this, the other, or both the bills.
It's not on. Senator Olekina?
Madam Speaker, I thank you for giving me this opportunity. I'm for the view that it will serve us right and give us an opportunity to really determine the matters that we're debating here at HBC if we allow debate to conclude in the second reading, as we had earlier on agreed, so that we can now look at Senator Sakaja's bill, and then from that point, look at both bills and agree. And I'm only saying that because I don't really think it will help us. When we are the house which is supposed to be protecting the interest of counties, and we have a lot of our employees in county governments staying without knowing their future. I want to support the sentiments of both the minority leader and Senator Sakaja that we should, instead of postponing the debate on this bill, we might as well conclude, let it pass the second reading, go sit down at the House business, Madam Speaker, and agree on the next move, because we still have to be able to have this bill read a third time. There, we will be able to let wisdom dictate the future of this bill from the National Assembly and the future of the bill which was being introduced by Senator Sakaja. Madam Speaker, if you may allow me just for one more minute. I remember very well Senator Sakaja was very passionate about his bill proceeding. And then all of a sudden, it was stopped. So since this is where we are now, I think it would be better if we can be able to put some wisdom on these fights between these two houses. I would be very happy if the National Assembly passed my bills. I have quite a lot of bills here. But I think the only way that we can be able to really do our job properly is if we conclude the second reading.
Senator Petronila, where?
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I think we are saying the same thing. We are saying that this bill should go back to the Senate Business Committee. The issue is when, now or later. So, and I think if it's the same business committee, the faster they deal with the matter, the better. So it should be taken now and not later. So we do not conclude the debate under second reading. It should be dropped and taken back to the Senate Business Committee.
Senator Professor Kamal.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I was going to support what Senator Orengo said, that we don't really need to delay the conclusion. Who knows how many people are remaining? We may be having only two or so. So we conclude it will be neater for us if it goes to the House business when we have finished the second reading. We only defer because the mover is not here. So we defer the response, and then a decision is arrived at that point. May I also add that I seem to support the Chinese saying that we don't want to concentrate on our fights with the lower house. We are the upper house. In any function, always it is the upper house, it is the last person who is considered to be the most senior. So let them do whatever they do. We come and mutilate, we come and amend, we come and do whatever we want to do with it. Because if we concentrate on our relationship with the lower house, we might delay a lot of things in this house. I think we are the upper house. Let's take it. Thank you.
Senator Wako Naomi.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I just want to add my voice to this because I feel we should continue with the debate because we are the upper house and wisdom should guide us. So I agree with what Senator Orengo has proposed, that we conclude the debate today and let the business committee guide us in future. And for heaven's sake, we have given a lot of attention in the past. We have consumed a lot of time on this, and many people have already given their views and debated on this. And what should guide us again is the need on the ground. So for me, I suggest that we conclude the debate today and we be guided by the business committee. Thank you.
Senator Cherargei.
Madam Speaker, when you look at Standing Order 105, they says there are some reasons as to why you can adjourn. And I think the reasons we have given, are we just continue to debate for the sake of it, or we want to have a more, that has the bill or the process that is fleshing up for the purpose of achieving with the interest of the county workers, or are we just want to push the process? And in my own opinion, it is better if we suspend or adjourn this debate until the House Business Committee, and we are lucky, Madam Speaker, because most of the House Business Committee members who sit in SBC are here with us. They can push in their meetings to ensure that this matter is prioritized and is dispensed with it, so that by the time we are concluding on this issue, even if the outcome of the House Business Committee, and yet we have concluded the debate, we should agree, as we just debating for the sake of the process, or we are debating to have a quality process at the end of the day. And therefore, I think let us suspend or adjourn this debate until the House Business Committee gives direction on this. And we are happy that the members who sit in House Business Committee are men and women of serious intellect and Solomonic wisdom, so that they can give proper guidance to this House by the time we conclude, so that we don't have seen the National Assembly says we have sat on their bills. It is not that we have sat on their bills because it is intentional. We have sat on their bills because most of the bills lack wisdom and intellect that comes from the lower house. And that is why we take time to look through them. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Halake Abshiro.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. As you make your determination whether or not to continue with the debate, on my part, it's neither here nor there for it to continue or not to continue. It looks like either way, we may just end up having to go back to the drawing board. But I just would like to speak to a little bit of the Chinese wisdom. In this particular case, and with all due respect to Senator Orengo, who is one of the people I respect immensely in this House, is that going with this bill right now may look like wisdom and may look like, but it's a very short-term wisdom, because the existential issue of this House, the fact that legislatively we are sort of on our knees, it looks like we have failed to take our mandate of legislation for the people and for counties. Because if we fear that we cannot push through our legislation, therefore, and it's been said very well, there's only 3 legislative pieces passed because of this, then this House is admitting to the fact that legislatively we failed, and we think we cannot really push through legislation for counties. In terms of oversight, as we all know, we have been immobilized. So what are we saying as this House? So as you make your determination, and this is not just about this bill, the existential issue of this House, and going forward, whether this House will be useful to protecting counties, whether this House will be useful in legislating for counties, will come to question. And it's through these small things like this that we're going to really put our foot forward and our foot down to really take our place for future, not just for this bit of the bill, but this bill points to other leadership issues, other long-term issues that this House if we admit now that let's just do it because we cannot do it with ours, is going to point to the usefulness and use of this House. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Senator Sakaja.
The rights that are ensured in our Constitution as per Article 21, as per Article 43, and many other articles in our Constitution to which this bill gives effect. Now, if we look at the government spending, and we've talked about that, about 2.6 million people fall into poverty or remain poor due to ill health each year. I know we've talked about people going to India and all these other places and that quality healthcare may not even be available. Now we thank the government for the push to have NHIF cover the poor and all of us, so to speak. But again, these are areas guaranteed in our Constitution under Article 43 that we need to ensure that we start legislating and making sure there's frameworks for this. Madam Speaker, I don't want to go to gender inequality. It's prevalent, as you know, and economic policy is not creating, I'm not saying that our policies are creating poverty, but what I'm saying is that inequality, holding back the economic empowerment of women and others would definitely then continue to perpetuate these inequalities. Despite 96% of Kenya's rural women population working on farms, only 6% of women in Kenya hold titles to land. Madam Speaker, in terms of economic empowerment of women, what are we saying? 96% work, 6% ownership. Again, are women being paid for the work they're doing in our rural farms? So again, this bill is going to try and make sure that we start to correct some of these statistics, we start to correct some of these inequalities and some of these injustices for different cadres of people that have suffered this. Now, extreme poverty is not inevitable. Extreme poverty can be legislated, can be put in place, systems and policies can be put in place, and this is what this bill does. What this bill does, basically, is to ensure that it provides a framework for counties and national governments and to put in place frameworks and mechanisms for realization of the economic and social rights are set out in Article 43 of the Constitution. It also imposes an obligation on county governments to prepare county strategic plans, which would provide the county governments with a framework for the implementation of the economic and social rights. These rights are tied to functions and powers of the county government and conferred on them under Part 2 of the 4th Schedule of the Constitution, including agriculture, health services, county planning and development, provision of pre-primary and vocational education, and public works, including water and sanitation services. It is in the efficient and effective carrying out of the functions that the county governments will work towards ensuring the realization of this of economic and social rights as set out under Article 43. Madam Speaker, this bill, I know we have legislated for certain bills, and there are many bills that seek to give economic power, that seeks to give something back. But what this bill will do, it's not just a bill that would give fish to the folks or to our citizens. It will give them the tools within which, it will give our institutions the tools within which to make sure that our social rights are enforced, our social rights are monitored, and our social rights and economic rights are quantified, and the same then implemented, so to speak, because something that's measured then would get implemented. Madam Speaker, we have we have provisions in different parts with regards to how grants that are received are going to be handled towards economic empowerment and ensuring that social rights are ensured. Again, there are systems for approving county strategic plans. Madam Speaker, what's happening is that a lot of the counties are saying, oh, we don't have ways in which we can do this. And this bill seeks to provide those ways, to provide for strategic planning, to provide for prioritizing, to provide for focusing on the right things that would ensure that the statistics, the grim statistics that I have provided here, start to be dealt with as part of the reform that we need in our country, but as part of the obligations as this House that we have to ensure as we go forward, as our counties start to establish themselves, and as our counties start to take advantage of the economic resources that they are now, the economic resources in their counties, that it's not just left in a vacuum, that everybody is going to be considered, that counties will focus on the right things, that counties and national government, because this bill actually speaks to both, that counties and national government start to plan on how to ensure that the economic empowerment of all our citizens are ensured. As an example that I gave of the women, for instance, if the 96% of the workforce on our farms is women, what strategies do the counties have in place to ensure that that work is paid, is quantified, and that work is given and is paid for appropriately? Madam Speaker, I know I'm running out of time, and I hope that I'll get more time tomorrow to expound on these things, but there are very many articles in our constitution that this bill gives effect to. This bill seeks to provide a framework to give effect to all these articles, and the bill would ensure the preservation of the dignity of all persons and communities in line with Article 19 of our Constitution, and seeks to provide the framework to facilitate the enforcement of these rights. Madam Speaker, this bill, for instance, in Section 2, provides that the national and county government shall, pursuant to Section 1, take measures to create the opportunities and the environment in which the economic and social rights are realized, adopt comprehensive planning, integrate within their respective policies, strategies, actions.
Order, Senator. Senator Abshiro, you will have a balance of 43 minutes. Honorable Senators, it is now 6:30 p.m., time to adjourn the business of the House. The Senate therefore stands adjourned to Wednesday, 20th February 2019 at 2:30 p.m.